All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Cunniff, sitting alongside former NFL great Hollis Thomas. We are live at the Mudhen Brewing Company and Restaurant in Wildwood. We'll be here for the next 3 hours on 98.7 The Coast. You can also check out a live stream, and if you're watching our live stream, you can see that Mr. Hollis Thomas has his fertilized flour.
Yes, flower power. It's time to get back to basics today.
Yes. Speaking of flower power, we need some kind of power for the Eagles to get this win today to clinch home field advantage for the entire NFC round of the playoffs.
And not to mention the bye as well.
And the first round bye, which is, as you can certainly speak to, very, very important after a 17-game season to get that extra week of rest. So it's Eagles-Giants at 4:25. We're here at the Mudhen till 4. Stop on by and make sure you stop by the table and meet Hollis. Get your handshakes, your autographs, and your pictures, and he'll be more than happy to do that for you here at the Mudhen. So make sure you stop by, say hello to the bartenders. Andrew's inside at the main bar. You have William in the garage bar. And Anthony, they have banished him to the outside bar for good reason. He's walking around with that Saquon Barkley jersey.
Yeah, he's losing his mind.
Yeah, so that's why they sent him outside.
Yeah, put him outside
in the cold. Although they do a good job here with the heaters. You can actually hang out outside here at the Mudhen in the dead of winter. It's a great place. You can certainly stay warm out there with all the heating apparatus that they have. So there's a lot to talk about today. There's all kinds of playoff scenarios, not just with the Eagles, but with all of these many of these games today. And of course, we're going to talk about the Damar Hamlin situation. We can get the perspective from a former player and what's going on there. We'll talk about other sports as well, and we may even touch on our local high school stuff very briefly.
I'm interested to hear about that. You were telling me about that before the show.
Yeah. So should be a fun day here at the Mudhen. So Hollis, first things first.
Yeah.
What's it like when you are going into, because you were part of Eagles teams that went to 4 straight conference championship games, played in the Super Bowl. What's it like to have this last game mean so much? Division title, bye, top seed for the playoffs.
You know what? We had got into the habit of going to the playoffs all the time.
Right.
So a lot of times we pretty much knew we was going to get to the playoffs. It was just getting to the Super Bowl. And I think we had, after the first 2 times we were in the NFC Championship game, that third year when we secured the bye and stuff, we were already stay outside, sucker.
Yeah, Josh is already Anthony's already outside showing us the Saquon Barkley jersey. Yeah, but I don't think they're letting him back in.
No, they shouldn't let him back in. Not till after the game. But the thing I think that we all have to recognize as fans currently is we have a bit of a young team, like a young nucleus with some older guys sprinkled around in there. So I'm hoping that the older guys will teach them how to stay ready during the bye week, because sometimes you can lose your edge during the bye week. And when we were a young team, we got that first round bye one time. We came back a little flat, and we had to come back in the end to win the game. So hopefully we don't lose our edge. But we getting our general back today. It looked all signs point that he's playing today. And we were talking about this right before this about Gardner Minshew pretty much blowing this opportunity. And I said I had a story for you about when you blow your opportunity. You have to be ready whenever they call you, especially when you're a backup. When you're not a starter, you always have to be ready. And you have to be ready, especially he's talking about he wants to be a starter. It's like, when I came to the league, I wasn't a starter. So as I was telling you, you was telling me about your son going through the high school thing where they promote you up to varsity when you're a freshman and sophomore, but they're not really going to play you. They just brought you out there to make their numbers look more and to intimidate the other team. So you're pretty much following the coach around with your mouthpiece in and your helmet strapped up, clean. It's like, so getting to the pros, as I told you, my name was called in the first series, and I wasn't even following the coach. so they had to get me. But when you get in the game, I was told when you get in the game, you have to make plays. The way you get more playing time is making plays. And he really stunk up. Like the previous week, it was Dallas, but he scored a lot of points though. But this past week, he was missing passes and stuff, and he just didn't seem like a guy who showed the consistency to be a starter.
And like we had said off the air before we started, the reason why the Eagles have to put Jalen Hurts in, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why the Eagles have to have Jalen Hurts play today at still probably less than 100% is because Gardner Minshew didn't do his job. I mean,
right.
you can give him the Dallas game. It's at Dallas. Dallas is a very good team. Mm-hmm. It's his first start of the season. But to lose to an under 500 New Orleans team last week and all the 3 and outs at the start of the game and everything else, and that's the reason why Jalen Hurts has to play today.
Well, that's one of the reasons as well, and I feel like it was a lot of his fault, but when you look at those first 4 drives, it was only 2 runs ran. I was like, so what are you doing? You have a backup quarterback in there. You're supposed to run the ball to get him comfortable. I felt like we got out-coached and outplayed that game, especially offensively. But defensively, even though we didn't give up that many points, we were out there for 37 minutes, dude. It's like you played against a team led by Andy Dalton and Taysom Hill. Mm-hmm. It's like, and you give up that 37 minutes. I think when they were 7-16 on third down. I hated seeing that, and it took me all the way back to the Dallas game, the 3rd and 30. 3rd and 30. Why are you not heating him up? Why are you not heating him up, getting the ball out of his hands, make the play? You gave him time to throw. Any quarterback you give time to throw, he is going to carve us up like a Thanksgiving turkey.
Yeah. And the thing is, if they make the play defensively on 3rd and 30,
right.
Gardner and Minshew's like a hero in Philadelphia right now.
Yeah, he's a big-time hero. It's like when we were celebrating instead of getting that fumble that we caused, I was like, man. And then we gave up the 3rd and 30. It seemed like the entire team, the sails let out of not only the people at home watching, but the entire team seemed like, man. And it was just all bad from there. So.
All right, so we're live here at the Mudhen. We're here till 4 o'clock. We'll be talking Eagles. We'll be talking NFL, all kinds of other sports. Stop on by. Pretty good crowd here already, and we know it's going to fill up as we move along this afternoon as we get closer to game time for the Eagles and the Giants. We've got some giveaways here.
Yeah, T-shirts.
Hollis brought a lot of shirts. I got some 98.7 The Coast shirts. We'll throw out maybe a layup trivia question or two that people will be able to answer easily.
Or just stop by and say hi.
Exactly. Yeah. And
that way we don't have to do too much work.
That's right. And,
just give it to them.
Yeah. And stop by the table if you want to talk to Hollis real quick, get a quick photo or an autograph. He'll be more than willing to do that for you. And we're here until 4 o'clock. There's obviously a lot of 1 o'clock games that have just kicked off in the NFL. And
did you watch any of the games from yesterday?
I did not actually. I was tied up all day. Did not see a down other than the highlights this morning. The Bills already have a 7-0 lead on the Patriots, by the way. But everything else, and the Texans have a 7-0 lead on the Colts, and the Saints are up 7-0 on the Panthers. Jets and Dolphins are scoreless. Ravens and Bengals are scoreless. That's a big game. We'll get into that. That's a weird thing
weird
that they created there.
In the AFC, yes. Due to something that's a little bit greater than football.
Yeah,
but,
no doubt. And Tampa Bay and Atlanta
But
scoreless.
the other scores that you mentioned before that, it's like watching the Pinstripe.com Bowl right after Christmas.
The Texans and the Colts, yeah, no doubt.
You mentioned the Texans and the Colts, and I think the Saints and the Panthers.
Yeah.
None of them really have playoff implications.
No, not the Panthers made a little bit of a charge in a weak division, but yeah, obviously Tampa Bay already clinched. And Tampa could lose today and be a division champion at under 500, which is crazy.
Well, yeah, it's not so crazy. You remember back when the Seattle Seahawks were 7-9.
True.
And when
got a home game.
Yeah, got a home game against the Saints.
I believe they won it, right?
Yeah, they won it. That was when Beast Mode became extremely popular.
That's right.
I don't know if you remember that run.
I remember that run. He knocked down about 12 guys. There's only 11 on the field.
Exactly, but he ran over a couple of them twice.
Yeah, right.
He ran like my boy Tracy Porter. He ran over him early in the down, and then Tracy Porter ran downfield, came back for a little bit more, and got ran over again.
So what is the excitement like when – I know you said a lot of times you may have had it clinched, and there were probably times where you sat out the last game.
Right.
But what's the excitement level like when you get into a game where everything's on the line and you either make the playoffs or don't, or you can win home field advantage, that type of thing. And you play so much football in your life, and the preparation that you do and the practice time and the off-season work, but then when you walk into a stadium and have that much on the line, what's it like?
Well, you can't really think about it. You gotta. It's the one thing that is why we play the game. And you see a lot of so the teams who actually can win in these situations, they don't get flustered in these situations. It's hard to say about getting flustered, but it's like the whole stadium's there. Everybody's cheering you on. It's like you know what's on the line. I was like, but it's like you just the one thing. This is the one thing that I hate too. It's like when you're going along and everything is going good, the moment something is out of whack, it's like you feel like, oh, here we go again with something stupid happening, and us just not being able to pull it out. I was like, but you can't have that mindset because there's going to be ebb and flows throughout the game. And I felt like we had enough mixture of young guys and older guys that we were able to actually stave off. The year we went to the Super Bowl, remember we had to win the Dallas game for the first round back, because actually I was injured leading up to the playoffs, and so it was myself and T.O. and a couple other guys on the sideline rooting them on, and we needed that game to get us that first round back so we get healthy.
And what's that like? You can't get out there and contribute.
Dude,
it's got to be murder.
It's murder. It's murder because you seeing plays that you normally would make, and you see also we played Dallas twice a year, so you see them run the same crap that they ran on you before, and you stuffed it, and you just like it's man, it's eating you alive.
But in the big picture though, going forward, sometimes does it help you to be able to step back, watch what's going on, and say, maybe you see something that when you're out there in the throes of a game, you don't really notice or whatever? I mean, does it make you more of a student of the game, maybe?
Well, now I'm a meticulous jerk, so I always did a lot of film study and a lot of film breakdown and formation breakdown and stuff. So when I go out there, it's like second nature. It's like I knew all the hand signals, i.e. why we don't have hand signals anymore, Bill Belichick. So I knew all the hand signals so I could bounce the call. There's the one thing that I was taught by Double J. He doesn't like to be called JJ, Jim Johnson. He taught us communication is the key to a good to great defense. It's like you don't keep secrets. You make sure everybody on the defensive line knows the call and knows what they're supposed to do, because it's only going to help you out. Mm-hmm. It's like so in knowing that and preparing throughout the week, because it was like I wasn't letting anybody. That wasn't going to be a reason why I lost the game. As I said, I did not being prepared. That was never an option. And then being an undrafted free agent, I always felt like I had to do more. You had to do more. I had to prove that I belonged there. So in doing that and just getting into the right practice habits and film breakdown habits, I was able to come out there and look at the formation. Just 3-by-1. They ran 3-by-1 with the running back set to the one receiver side. They're about to throw a screenplay to the three receiver side. It's like there's most offenses do that. That's actually, the league is a copycat league. Mm-hmm. So when they see somebody get you on something, you can best believe that player is going to be in there the next week. So it's actually got, I never got flustered like that though. It's like I was just thinking about it. It's like only time I'll be pissed off because watching the guy play, and this is where like the great players get in trouble why they can't coach. It's like because you would think that they're supposed to know that because they're out there.
Right.
And everybody doesn't learn the same, and everybody doesn't play the same.
Yeah,
they don't process things the same.
You don't see a lot of great players become great coaches.
Yeah, because they expect you to know. So
and that goes in all sports, not just football.
Yeah, it goes in all sports. It's like I've coached kids, and I still do a little coaching here and there. But I was like, I don't. The one thing that I have learned is that everybody's not going to get it the way you get it. So. You don't berate them and don't talk down to them, because that's exactly what some coaches do. It's like, can't you get it? It's like, come on, man. Explain it to them in layman's terms and let them get it. Because I was towards the end of my tenure, they was calling me big coach because I was explaining what Tommy Brazier was explaining at the board, but I was putting it in terms that they could understand, that they would get. Mm-hmm. It's like because we had a slant move and we had a gap exchange. Now, to the naked eye, they both look like slant moves, but the gap exchange move is a flat step and up. And when he said flat step and up, they was like, well, what do you mean, stand up? It's like, no, flat step and into the gap. Flat step from your gap to the other gap and into the gap. So it's like when you just say flat stepping up, it's like everybody's looking like, what the hell is that? So it's just little stuff like that you get as a player, and when you able to teach people.
So we are live at the Mudhen. This is Reality Check, the ultimate sports preview show starring Hollis Thomas, former NFL great, of course played for the Eagles for 9 seasons. Was with the team 10 years.
Yes.
Yes, was with the team for 10 years. You were hurt the 1 year, right?
I was hurt for pretty much the first 3 NFC Championship games.
Right.
I found a way to get on IR. Like it was like the first time I shattered I was playing on a stress fracture, and everybody thinks that I got hurt during warm up or coming out of the tunnel. I had already been playing on a stress fracture for half the season. I was going to get operated on at the end of the season. It shattered coming out of the tunnel.
Ooh.
Yeah. And that was the first year. The next year, I tore my bicep.
Right, I remember that. I do remember that, yes. Yeah. So we're here till 4 o'clock at the Mudhen Brewery Company and Restaurant here in Wildwood, right on Rio Grande Avenue. We've got a good crowd here already.
Yep.
We expect some more people here as we get closer to game time with the Eagles. They've got a few TVs around. You can watch the early 1 o'clock NFL games as well. Come in and say hi to your bartenders. Andrew's inside. Williams in the garage bar. And, again, we've banished Anthony, the Giants fan, to the outdoor bar so we don't have to see him in his Saquon Barkley jersey. But he did that last time before you were around, Hollis. He did that last time. We know what happened the last time when the Eagles played the Giants.
48-22?
Yeah, it was not. And it wasn't even that close.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't even that close.
I think my guy, the MVP, was sitting down in the middle of the third quarter.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. So we're up against the break, and we'll be back with Reality Check, the ultimate sports preview. And we'll be back right after this on 98.7 The Coast. All right, we are back live at the Mudhen, the Reality Check Ultimate Sports Preview Show here until 4 o'clock at the Mudhen in Wildwood with the star of the show, Hollis Thomas, 10-year Philadelphia Eagle, 13-year career in the NFL. And stop on by the table here and say hello to Hollis, and he'll be more than happy to sign an autograph, take a photo, whatever you wish. And we'll be here till 4 o'clock talking Eagles and the NFL and sports. And it looks like all, as we were alluding to, but didn't really come out and say it. It looks like all reports are indicating that Jalen Hurts is going to play today.
He better be.
Yeah. And but I mean, and I don't know, we know you're not a doctor. We're going to ask you to play one on radio.
Okay.
that shoulder injury that he has, I don't know if you know anything about it, but what do you think the issue is there?
I just think the issue was they just wanted him healthy, a little bit more healthier. Yeah. And it's understandable. And then you have a backup quarterback who's looking to become a starter, and he's at times he's good. So you kind of want to give him a chance to showcase his skill because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent next year. And also, you want to see if you want to sign him back after this and how much would he garner. Right. Speaking of that, he just kind of like lost it. I think he's lost the backup job just because of the way he played. You don't have to, because the difference between a starter and a backup is consistency. Mm-hmm. But when your number is called, you have to at least answer. You had 2 opportunities. You didn't. It was right there for you. You missed a lot of passes. I don't know if you watched the game, both games. Even in the game that we scored 30-plus points in, he missed a couple of touchdowns. It was some money left on the field.
Well, there was a play in the game against New Orleans, and I think that might be what you're alluding to.
Yeah, he sailed it high.
He rolled out, and there was someone wide open in the end zone
down the
that
middle.
He didn't see.
Yeah, he sailed it on him. It was that one. He sailed it on him and went too high. Right. I was like, the guy was coming right down the middle, and it's like you got to hit that.
Yeah.
At some point, it's like we can't keep making concessions for one person. This is a team. If you're expecting everybody else to do their job, we need him to do his.
I know that there's a lot of cryptic information that goes out in terms of injuries.
Right.
Do you think if the Eagles' season were on the line that Jalen Hurts could have played the last couple weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like with the. I think it's one of the shoulders. It was a contusion, right? Mm-hmm. Of the shoulder. I played actually a whole season with that, but obviously I don't throw.
Right.
I was like, but they had me with it. They were calling me a fat gladiator because I had this harness on to stop the pain and to keep my arm so it wouldn't go certain ways. But if it was on the line, I could almost get. He finished the Chicago game. He got hurt early in that game,
right?
And he finished that game because he didn't tell him to after the game because it was probably hurting him. The adrenaline throughout the game, it probably had him going. But once you sit down and the pain settles in, good God.
And sometimes I wonder if they also held him out of the Dallas game because perhaps the Eagles fully expect at some point they're going to run into Dallas in the playoffs. So why let them get another look at our guy?
I don't think we were that. I think that we were playing against a team with a good defense and probably would try to take some dirty shots on our guy. And you don't want to put him in that situation. Sometimes you have to protect the player from himself because I can almost guarantee you he wanted to go out there and play. I was like, but sometimes you have to err on the side of a better judgment. And I feel like giving him a couple of weeks to heal a little bit. I think he'll be at full strength going to the playoffs. You got to think of the greater good of the entire team.
So with that in mind, do you think that they felt like they have to play him today because he missed 2 weeks? Now, if he doesn't play this week, and even if they win without him, then it's another bye week. He would have gone 5 weeks without playing. You think that's important that he gets some reps today?
Yeah, I think that's important too because you don't want him to be knocking the rust off in the first playoff game. In the first half of the playoff game, because the playoffs are a lot different. The teams have had time to break you down to your very last compound, and you're playing against the best of the best. And so you can't have them going in there trying to knock the rust off in the first half of a playoff game because it could get ugly.
Mm-hmm. And what is it like? You always hear the term, especially when it comes to NFL players, that there's a difference between hurt and injured.
Right.
And you're going to have to learn the nature of the game. You have to learn to play with injuries.
Well, not so much with injuries. You learn to play with pain.
Right.
The threshold of pain for pain tolerance. When you go out there, if put it this way, most players, we don't want to come off the field unless something's hanging off. Like I've been in a situation where see these two fingers right here.
Yeah.
This one was snapped back this way. This one snapped back this way. I missed a total of one play, and that was for them to pop it back in place and tape them together.
Put you right back in the game. So you sacrifice, and we're going to get into this a little bit when we start talking about the DeMar Hamlin situation in the next segment. But I don't know if the general public sometimes realizes how much you guys put your bodies on the line to go out and play a game. And I say this a lot. A lot of people don't have the opportunity to do it. But I say if you get the opportunity to get really, really good seats to an NFL game, very close to the field, and you're able to see the size and speed of the players, and sometimes I say it's a miracle there aren't more injuries.
Well, you look at the one thing too is you not only look at the size but look at the technique. Look at the great, like it's a lot of people think that you could just line up and play D-line or offensive line. It's a lot that goes into it. That's why when you see at the beginning of each season, it seems like sloppy line play because you just can't walk back out there and come in like you was last year. It takes time for you to get that back. Time and practice. It's like have you seen how many slids I hit and I was hitting to launch myself to be able to get all this out of a stance? It's so many drills that they put you through to be able to even come off the rock.
So the rush of adrenaline to be able to play in an NFL game has got to be what gets you to tolerate that pain.
The crowd.
Yeah, the crowd.
It was like if you win the crowd, you win your freedom. Gladiator. No, but it's like when you out there, you want to silence the away team's crowd, and you want to make your crowd cheer. I was like, if that adrenaline rush, it's hard to describe it. It's hard to describe the adrenaline rush you get from when you make a big play and your entire crowd is going nuts for you.
Okay, so with that said, it brings up another topic. We see it in the college game, obviously. Home field advantage means a lot. And maybe sometimes people don't realize it in the NFL, but especially when you have a rabid fan base like Philly.
Right.
How much of a difference is it playing at home, especially in the playoffs?
Well, it's a twofold thing. The offense plays well at home because the crowd is quiet for them. The defense, while we may play well, and sometimes you make the opposing team jump off sides, it's hard as hell to hear the checks coming from the linebackers and the strong and free safeties and down to the D-line. Once your hand in the dirt, I was like, hey, whatever you said first, that's what I'm going with. So you have to play off me. So because it's a blessing and the curse when you're at home though for communication. You just hope that the defense coordinator doesn't call a bunch of defenses with a bunch of checks in them. It's like because sometimes you get those teams that run the hurry up, the quick game, and so you run audible front coverage, which is like you base off the backfield set. Depending on what backfield set you run, over or under, hawk, bear, or cub. It's like but you base it off the backfield coverage, and it's because they do quick game. Just think of the crowd going nuts, and we made a nice play, but they going quick, and we trying to get up there, and we trying to get the front end of the coverage to everybody.
What's the describe the feeling playing at home, you win, and that walking off the field or running off the field through the tunnel, fans are hanging over to congratulate you. What's that like? Because I know you play for the love of the game,
right,
and you play for yourself, but especially when you get established like you did in an organization, I know you start playing for the fans too.
Well, yeah, you it's like the sensation of biting into a York peppermint patty. That's the best way I can describe it. When you walk in there, you know you just kicked the other team's butt. I will say this, but it's not for everybody. I rarely shook the other team's hand because you're my mortal enemy on the field. Mm-hmm. I don't want to associate with you. I don't care if I know you in the off season. When we're on the field, I'm there to kick your rump, and I'm there to either please my crowd or make your crowd shut up and go home early.
So, and speaking of that, of playing to and for the crowd, I'll never forget this. I went to the first game at Lincoln Financial Field against Tampa.
Rocky.
Yes, I remember that.
You know what?
But
The only thing that made me know we were going to lose that game was Ray Rose is who brought me here. I don't know if you remember. It was right after the year that when the Cowgirls won the Super Bowl in '95.
Yeah.
And we were at Monday Night Football, Cowboys. I'm a rookie, and he said, Fat T. He said, we about to get our ass kicked. I was like, why? He's like, anything whistles, it's a recipe for a butt whooping. And they proceeded to kick our butts on Monday Night Football. But we repaid them later that season.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
But what I remember about that was in the pregame,
Right.
Warren Sapp came out.
Right.
And I don't know how much you guys catch this or if you knew his pregame routine, but he came out, his entire team warmed up and did what they do to get ready for a game. And Warren Sapp just stood there with his arms crossed and holding his helmet in his hands, and he stared at the fans. And that, I guess, is what got him going. And, of course, the fans weren't so nice to him.
Well, yeah. You wait for the fans to call you fat boy or something like that. Because
or much worse.
I'm being
We're on a
PG.
family show here.
I'm being PG. There's kids here.
Yeah.
It's like, so the fat boy is probably the worst comment. But I was telling you this when we were it was a college game. And he's probably going to kill me for telling the story. College game, we played against Utah State. I played for University of Northern Illinois. We had a young man on our team named Anthony Brady. It was a rainy, muddy game, and everybody else was muddy. Tony Brady had absolutely not a single speck of dirt on him. And the audience took homage to him. It was so bad he put on his helmet and was trying to walk to different ends of the field, and they were following him. I couldn't do nothing but laugh because it was hilarious because it was a long trip not to even touch the field. Hey, you told me what you would have done in that situation.
Yeah.
You would have just rolled around.
You got to get down on the ground and roll around.
I mean, he didn't even get in for a kickoff return or a punt or a punt return. That's it. I was like, oh man, to be 60 minutes just standing over there with your mouthpiece in and your chin strap buckled up, waiting to go. It's like it was one game we were playing against in preseason. And we played against the Patriots, and one of the defensive linemen was following that. Mike Turkovic was the defensive line coach. He's following him up and down sideline. He's like, who you want to go in? Who you want to go in? He grabbed him on the back and he looked at him straight in the face and said, "Not you." I was like, man, that's gotta hurt.
That's
deep.
Cold.
Yeah,
that's cold.
It was man. So it's when you shut the crowd up, that's the greatest part though. When you make them go home early, it's like everybody's leaving and stuff.
Yep.
But the key and the best part is when it's somebody who's been talking trash to you all game long, and then you silence them, and then they're leaving early, and you give them that type of goodbye.
Yes.
The parade goodbye.
Yes.
So
This is Reality Check, the Ultimate Sports Preview Show. With Hollis Thomas, 13-year NFL veteran.
It's 14, though.
It was 14?
Yes.
It was 14.
3 with the Saints.
That's right. It was 3 with the Saints. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I thought it was only 2.
I got traded there. I didn't ask to go there.
Yeah, I did know that. I did know that part. So we're here at the Mudhen in Wildwood on Rio Grande Avenue, and we're here till 4 o'clock. Stop by, see Hollis. You can get an autograph, take a picture with him, and you can do so during the break. And we're here all the way till 4 o'clock ahead of the Eagles-Giants game.
I'm gonna be here after that, though. I'm gonna
today,
watch some
and
of the
Hollis
game.
will be here to watch part of the game. I'll hang around as well, and should be a continuing a fun day here at the Mudhen. We're up against the break. We'll be back right after this on 98.7 The Coast. All right, we are back at the Mudhen for Reality Check, the ultimate sports preview show. I'm Brian Cunniff alongside Hollis Thomas, 14-year NFL veteran, and, of course, played 10 seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles. We're here all day, and he's a pretty popular guy these days. He's signing some autographs. So we'll go through some of these NFL games right now. Tampa and Atlanta are tied at 7 in the first quarter. Patriots and Bills also tied at 7. The Vikings have a 6-0 lead on the Bears. And Cincinnati, it's a big game for them. There's a big crazy playoff scenario due to the Damar Hamlin situation. They actually lead Baltimore 10-0 late at the end of the first quarter. And the Texans lead the Colts 10-7. Jets and Dolphins are scoreless. Saints lead the Panthers 7-0. And the Browns and Steelers are scoreless in the first quarter. So, again, we're live here at the Mudhen. Stop on by. We're here till 4 o'clock. I'm Brian Cunniff with the man of the hour, Hollis Thomas. Jim Mascio handling our production here on scene. Norm Donahue back at the studio. We appreciate everybody and all the good people here at the Mudhen for having us here for the Reality Tech Ultimate Sports Preview Show. So we haven't gotten into this too much at the start of the show, but Hollis, we did want to talk about, obviously, this Damar Hamlin situation. Right. So the first thing I want to – well, first of all, did you see it live? Were you watching it?
Yes, I saw it live.
So what is it like as a player when – because you guys all know the risks.
Right.
But what is it like as a player when someone suffers what everyone knows is either a serious injury or, in this case, a medical emergency?
This particular one was a little bit different.
Sure.
Because we've seen guys who've been. I've been on the field when I was on the field when Michael Irvin dove head first to Veterans Stadium. They were performing life-saving tactics on this kid, and he had coded. So it was way different than anything that we've ever seen, because everybody that we've seen being carted off, they either waved at you or gave you a thumbs up, and you know that they were still there. This was like it hit home too. This was like, man, because then some people tried to make it about the hit. It was not even the hit. It was not even a hard hit, and it was just like, it's like, wait a minute, that don't look right. It's kind of like when you see somebody get injured or pop a ligament or something, and they're untouched. But this time it was a little different because of man, it was like I couldn't even imagine being there. Because you can see the guys crying and stuff, because it was initially when you first saw it, he was like, man, what's going on? Because initially when it first happened, you thought that he was just, since they were kind of running hurry up like the quick game, I thought he was, faking. But when you saw the guy come out there and immediately start performing CPR, then you knew it was serious.
So what was you're watching it live. You certainly have a different perspective than 99.9% of the people that watch football, because you played it at that level. What was your immediate thoughts when you realized how serious it was?
They can't continue this game.
Right.
My immediate thoughts and prayers went out to him and his family, but they couldn't continue that game, and they had to make sure that nobody mentioned what was going on until his family was notified. Because there's nothing like hearing bad news like that over the airwaves before you had a chance to react to it. And I thought they handled it with class. But it was the one thing that I didn't like, though, is they should have had some type of other programming to go to or talk about something else, because you keep running that back over and over and over again. And it was just like my heart sank, especially because he's a young kid. And you feel like he's got his whole life ahead of him, and something as freakish as this, as skittish as this. Actually, the next day, I had my annual checkup, and found I still have the same doctor as I had when I was playing. Gary Dorsham. What's up, Gary? He was showing me exactly what happened to him, and I was like, wow. So it's like on the uptick, you get hit hard when your heart is on the uptick, and it's like knocking your circuit breaker loose.
Yeah, it could happen to anybody.
He showed me on my EKG, and it was just like, I was like, oh, man, it was that simple yet that complicated.
So I know, you guys, I'm sure certainly appreciate them but maybe the public doesn't really realize, there's so much that goes. We see the 11 players on the field and the guys in game day, whatever the number is now that they dress, but all the people behind the scenes that are so important to the NFL. I mean, talk about the medical professionals and what they did and the level of training they have. Because I got to imagine the times that you've gotten injured, your teammates have gotten injured, to see those guys come on the field and just the way they react and everything.
You know what? Sometimes they have a thankless job because they're just expected to be there and do what they're supposed to do. Those guys, I can't say the Rick Burkholders, they got Scotty Patton down and James and all those guys. I mentioned all the athletic trainers that I've been around who've actually, when I've dislocated my elbow, they're there. It's like you're closer to them than you are to the coaches because they're there on a day in and day out basis. And so to see them jump into action like that, it was nothing. It was really nothing new. I was like, the fact that they knew what to do, I think it actually gave the people that are outside a look inside of what they mean to the team. That's why when they say team, they are part of the team. They're there to get you ready and to take care of you when you get injured. I know because when I was injured, the rehab and stuff you go through and the rigorous way that they prepare you to get you back on the field. And not only that, just watching that dude, did you see how fast he leaped into action and he knew what to do? I was like, man, you can't. I'd have froze. I'm sorry. That's probably why I'm not a EMT or something like that, because I would have literally froze when you see somebody. It was just a routine play.
Again, we're live at the Mudhen Brewery and Restaurant in Wildwood. This is Reality Check, the Ultimate Sports Preview Show on 98.7 The Coast. You can also live stream us on the Coast Sports Today Facebook page or 98.7 The Coast Facebook page as well. And if you're out there on the listening on the radio, and you can get to a computer or some kind of a device to see us. And crowd starting to fill in. We've got a full restaurant here, and
so people
the outside is open.
So
we've banished Anthony in the Giants jersey out to the outside bar, so we don't have to see him.
Yeah, there's a few people going out there to see him.
Yeah,
but I think they're immediately angry with him, and they're coming back inside.
That's right.
For his attire.
Yeah, Andrew's behind the inside bar, and Williams at the garage bar, and of course all the great servers and the staff here at the Mudhen. And you talked about how your first reaction was from the Damar Hamlin situation was that the game couldn't go on. I think sometimes people forget that these are
human beings.
Not only human beings, but young men, young human beings that maybe have not really seen life and death stuff yet. When you're in your early to mid 20s, or as most of those players are. So,
what I think what a lot of people probably miss was, like, we're used to seeing, sometimes not used to, but when somebody gets carted off, you've seen it before. I've seen the dislocation. My buddy, leg was going this way, his foot was going that way. They brought the air cast out. I was like, but they've all been conscious when they left the field. This was not that type of situation. And I don't care how old you are. I don't think you get used to it. If it happens at your job and what you do, I don't see you going back there, especially if he's on your team. And they spend 70 to 75% of their time together.
Yeah, it's interesting because I remember when I was that night. I think it's one of those things where, certainly not on this level, but it'll be for people that are sports fans. They're going to remember exactly where they were when it happened. Almost like when Kennedy got shot. People that were old enough to remember that always know where they were when the space shuttle exploded. And obviously, in those instances, people died. So it's a little different. Damar Hamlin looks like he's going to be okay.
Well, he coded. So
yes, but this is one of those things where people will never, ever forget where they were when they saw this happen.
Well, because it was in front of everybody. Everybody was watching that game. It had playoff implications to see who was going to be the number one seed. And it was one of those games where it's like, man, this game is for real.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that they made the proper decision and not continuing the game, because You heard some. I'm not going to even mention. Give them any press. It was a few yahoos trying to rush some stuff. I'm not going to even give them the time of day because it was an inhuman thing that they did and posted and tweeted. I was like, wow, man, it was real bad.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
It's not the fact that you don't. It's the part that pisses me off is the fact that you don't want to admit that you're wrong.
Yeah.
In that situation, you're complete and utterly wrong.
Some of these NFL games going on at 1 o'clock here. Atlanta leads Tampa 10-7. The Bills are up 14-7 on the Patriots. The Vikings lead the Bears 13-0. Cincinnati is all over Baltimore 17-0.
Oh.
They're playing at home. That game is in the second quarter. All these games are pretty much in the second quarter by now. The Texans are up 10-7 on the Colts. Jets and Dolphins are scoreless. The Saints are up 7-0 on the Panthers, and the Steelers and Browns are scoreless into the second quarter. Although Cleveland is driving. So there's your update on the 1 o'clock games.
You heard what happened to Cleveland, right? Why Jadeveon Clowney is not playing?
No, I did not hear that.
So Jadeveon Clowney posted some tweets talking about apparently them showing Myles Garrett preferential treatment, and he's 95% sure that he won't be back in Cleveland. Like,
wow.
And he's hoping that somebody looks and sees his talent and overpays him. Well, not now. After you did that, and you just wrecked the team. And then Myles Garrett was like, his tweet was like, I had no idea he felt that way. It was funny when I was reading the story. You make concessions for Myles Garrett. He's a perennial defensive MVP. I was like, he comes and you have to make concessions for him. Jadeveon Clowney is rarely on the field. That's why he's third or fourth team. I was like, yeah, he's a pretty much a one-trick pony, and he's one of those guys who kind of gets away with dirty play. And we have our own can't get right, and Derek Barnett.
Yes.
He's always getting a 50-yard penalty or doing something he's not supposed to. He's currently injured, but. He's just one of those guys, and I think he really just kind of talked himself out of a quality contract.
Now, we most of us know sports, I guess up through the high school level as players. That's where most of us stop.
Right.
But maybe at that level they always say, oh, everyone gets treated the same, but not every player does get treated the same at the NFL
not even
level.
in high school.
Right.
Not even when you have a star running back, a star quarterback, the coach makes concessions for them.
Right.
And they always coddle the quarterback. There's a different set of rules for the quarterback, but it's unsaid. But your quarterback gains respect by being one of the guys. And not taking their preferential, not taking the teacher's pet privileges that are afforded to them. So it's like when you do that, and you're one of the guys you respect it more, and the team goes a lot better. The team will fight for you more.
So speaking of a guy that probably got some concessions, you played. The Eagles brought Terrell Owens in.
Well, they didn't make concessions for him.
No.
No. If they didn't make concessions for him, then we would have.
I was going to say, do you think they should have paid him? Because I do.
Well, yeah, I think because they told him a fable. They distinctly told him that we would fix because of the turmoil that happened leading up to him coming there. They said, just sign a contract, we'll fix it in the offseason.
Right.
Those were their words. And they kind of didn't do it. But the thing is, it's kind of like when you hear somebody, a guy make a dirtbag make say a line to a girl or something, and how easily it rolls off. It means that it's worked before.
Yes.
So it's like so that has worked. That had worked in the past for Joe Banner and them, but they hadn't met a superstar like T.O. And he made it exponentially hard to be on the squad.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
But it was. I've told this story a couple of times, but I think it was more so. Big Five will always love you. He told him that he didn't get into contract issues, and the next thing you know, he's on TV saying, "Pay Westbrook."
True. Yes, I do. Yes. Yeah.
That's kind of where it really started somewhere else. I have to tell you during the break, and because it was the language was
not
real
suited.
bad. It's not. We were playing the Giants, and he told him that T.O. was saying, "I'm open," and he said, "Man, shut up and get back in the huddle."
Wow.
but there was some explicitives around that.
Well, when the guy's open, they should have thrown it to him because he was one of the best to ever do it.
Yes, he was.
All right, so this is Reality Check, the ultimate sports preview show. We are live at the Mudhen Brewery Company and Restaurant in Wildwood. Great place to be any day, but especially on an NFL Sunday. They've got four big TVs in the main room, and they've got a couple more in different spots throughout, inside and out. You got the garage bar, and they are open outdoors. Throw a heavy sweater on. They got the heaters on out there, and it's a great spot to come watch the NFL, both the 1 o'clock games and then, of course, the Eagles coming up at 4:25. We're here till 4, and we're up against the break. And if you're here in the restaurant, you want to talk to Hollis, get a picture, an autograph during the break, feel free to come on up. This is Reality Check, the ultimate sports preview. Back after this on 98.7 The Coast. Back live at the Mudhen Brewery and Restaurant in Wildwood. Reality Check, the ultimate sports preview, as we move into our second of our 3-hour show. We're here till 4 o'clock talking Eagles, NFL, and of course the star of the show, 14-year NFL veteran Hollis Thomas, and of course 10 great seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of playoff runs and a Super Bowl appearance, and had to be very, very rewarding to be part of that.
Yeah, it was extremely rewarding until we lost, and then you found out that they cheated.
Yeah.
But then it's like initially when I found out that they cheated, it was like, yeah. But then I read the investigation report.
Yeah.
Yeah, scum buckets.
Yeah.
I was totally pissed, dude.
Well, let's. I wanted to get back to this Damar Hamlin situation because I think you'll know where I'm going with this. There have been some good things that have come out of this.
Right.
And I think one of the initial good things about this is that maybe it snaps into people always hear it, but maybe it really snaps into reality to the public and the fans that NFL players are humans too.
Yeah.
You know, you're not just a, you know, what can you do for the team I root for? How can you help me win my fantasy football league? Right. You know, this is a human with family and whatnot. And that's very important.
Yeah, it's extremely important. And I think the way that the public reacted, everybody, even people who were not football fans, heard about this situation. Sent out their prayers and love to him, and I think he raised like $8 million for his toy drive. It was like and then he started when he was in college. Sometimes it's like some of those things that the guys do that we do is kind of like gone by the wayside due to we always talking about the sexy thing is to talk about the carnage in which some of the guys who play this sport inflict upon the public, and we never talk about the guys who are actually doing good. And he was one of the guys who were doing good. And you didn't know he was doing good until a life-threatening moment like this.
Well, I think that's the other thing too. Whether it's sports or society in general, bad news is always amplified.
Right.
And I think sometimes I think people forget the things that you guys have to do as players just to get there and stay there as long as you stay there. The sacrifices you make, the hard work you do.
The meals I miss.
What I mean.
You know how many times
I think what people, and this doesn't just apply to the NFL. I think it applies to every professional sport all around the world. Is that when you have people that have been able to do the things that they do to get to the level that they're at, inherently those are good people.
Yeah.
And the NFL is filled with good people, whether it's coaches, players, whoever it may be. And I think sometimes the fans don't realize that. There's a detachment. You guys make so much money, and you're on TV, and you get the accolades. But deep down, the guys are good people.
Well, yeah, when you look at a lot of times they think that all of us we don't all make the same amount. We're not all making Tom Brady money or the highest paid. The quarterbacks make the most. They're the sexy people. That's who they protect. I was like, but it's a lot of guys who just do stuff out of the kindness of their heart. And it's like when you grow up, sometimes it's like when you see something that needs to be done, when you're able to do it, you just do it. You don't look for any press or anything. But we often, some of us act like spoiled brats. And rich idiots. So it's like that's often amplified. The emptiest wagon makes the most noise. It's like that's who we end up talking about, just in public in general. That's the sexy thing because that's what gets all the attention. So why not talk about all the guys who done stupid stuff or who are getting arrested or with the domestic violence stuff? It's like why not talk about that? It's like you want to address it. But talk about the guys who are doing some of the good stuff sometimes.
Damar Hamlin, not completely similar to your career path so far. but a little bit.
He got drafted, man. Come
He
on.
did get drafted.
He
You
got
did
to go
not,
to the
but
combine.
he got drafted all the way back in the 6th round.
Yeah,
he was hurt for a lot of his college career.
You know what I would have did for my name to be called on?
I understand.
Called on those 2 days.
But for him to be, and last year he was a reserve. This year I think he started every
Right.
game but 2 to this point. So
you know what? It's kind of funny that you mentioned that because somebody sent me a video and they showed back when John Randall was practicing versus a perennial practice squad player, and it was night and day. John Randall was going through it because at a certain point you just get it and you know what it takes to get you in shape and to get you where you need to be. And there's some guys who just take it for granted. Those guys is a perennial practice player, and the starting defensive tackle who's now a Hall of Famer, who's on his way to the Hall of Fame at the time. He's going through it way faster than you. You should be trying to make the team. And it's a lot of guys who take the opportunity for granted. And then there's always the what if or the coach didn't like me.
well, we've been talking a lot about these injuries and stuff.
Right.
From and we'll get going back to your story. As an undrafted free agent, you had to be blessed with the fact that at critical times early in your career, you stayed healthy enough to be available to play, because as an undrafted free agent, if you get injured, they don't have anything invested in you.
Yeah, but I was actually that too. I was healthy, and I ended up starting my rookie year. So
Right.
It was some other people, as you said, got injured. And I think I learned then the best ability is availability. If you're available and you do what the coaches ask you to do, and you do it well, then they will make room for you. So I found myself getting a lot more playing time, and eventually starting.
Do you think that the relationship between fans and players gets better because of this Damar Hamlin thing?
It's really nothing wrong with the fans' relationship with the people. I think some people it'll put some people on notice that you're human beings, and some of the people who thought differently at first. But I think more than anything, it just shows how precious life is. It just whether it's football or any sport, because that injury what happened to Damar, a lot of times it will happen in baseball. So it's like it shows you how precious life truly is, whether you play football or not.
When you see you touched on it last segment, but I think. I don't remember what the number was. It was a very modest number. I think Damar Hamlin was looking to raise something like $2,500 or
$2,500. Yeah.
$2,500.
Yeah. He raised $8 million.
And now it's up. As of yesterday, it was up over $8 million.
Right.
So
there's a lot of kids gonna get some toys now.
Yeah.
It's like when I was growing up, I grew up in St. Louis. There were really no football camps with professional players coming around the neighborhood. It actually anywhere in St. Louis. So I ended up getting some of my teammates and guys from other teams, and giving the camp for kids each like for about 6 or 7 years straight. But it's like instead of talking about what's wrong, just do something. Do something about what. If you see something that needs being done, do it. Instead of being that negative Nancy.
Well, and getting back to your story, I read that when you obviously undrafted free agent,
Right.
But when you left Northern Illinois, you didn't sit around waiting for teams to come to you.
No.
You sent tape to, I believe,
VHS.
VHS tape.
You remember how you used to have to tape those?
Yeah, it
Two
was
VCRs?
literally a tape. Yes.
Yeah, but no, it was like to the 2 VCRs.
Yeah.
30 times.
Yeah. So you did that to try to get people to notice you. I know there were a handful of teams that noticed you, and the one thing that I read was that Ray Rhodes said something to the effect of, if you do what we're seeing on tape, you're going to be here a long time.
He said I will make the team.
Yeah.
Because it was them, the Jets, the Giants, the Carolina Panthers on the phone talking to me. And the thing that got me to come was actually I talked to Jeff Lurie. I talked to the position coach, talked to the defensive coordinator, talked to Ray Rhodes 3 times, and one of the times he had Jeff Lurie there with him, and saying it was important for me to come there. So it's one of those things. It's kind of like when you're getting recruited in college. Who's putting up the most fuss for you?
Yes.
It's like, would you rather be a big fish in a small pond, or big fish in the ocean. It's like, not to say that this was a small pond, but I wanted to go where people, I feel like I would be appreciated.
What did that really do something for you when the owner called you? Had to.
Yeah,
As an undrafted guy.
Undrafted guy. The draft is still going. The 7th round is still going. The team that I was supposed to draft me drafted a damn punter, Paul Ruin out of Wyoming, Denver Broncos, Sons of Wayne. But I'm not bitter about that. But it talking to the owner and let me know that they were serious about giving me that. Everybody else I was talking to, only the scout. That was it. And then the funniest thing was San Francisco called me like that Monday or actually that Tuesday. It's like, this is a stupid question, but have you signed as a free agent with anybody yet? I say, yes, you're late.
Yeah.
I'm about to go to Philly.
So your path as an undrafted free agent, and we obviously we all know you made the team, but all the years you played in the NFL and the bulk of your career in Philly, but you went 3 years to New Orleans. You played a year in Carolina.
And the Rams.
Right, and you were with the Rams for a little bit. And but now, obviously Philadelphia made some kind of an impression on you because you're still living in the city. You got to really feel, so what was that like to, you are a part of that Philadelphia community?
It goes twofold. One, I pretty much grew up here from age 21 to 31.
Right.
I was in Philadelphia. Love it, love the city. The other part was, there's no natural disasters that happen there. I'm not looking at a hurricane. I'm not looking at a monsoon coming out. I'm not looking to get dried out in the desert or anything. You have all 4 seasons, and we're far enough inland to where I'm not going to get a hurricane, a monsoon, or a buttload of tornadoes.
Well, we'll have to have you down here when we get one of those hurricanes.
No. I'll be at home in the high rise. Remember, I'm only staying on the 7th floor because the firehouse ladder only goes to the 10th.
That's true.
Note to self.
Yeah.
When you're moving into a high rise, don't go past the 10th floor.
What was your tell us about what that first training camp with the Philadelphia Eagles was like?
Brutal.
Yeah.
It was back when training camp was training camp. It was I think it was the first year at Lehigh University.
I was going to say, was it Lehigh
it was
then?
The first, but see, it was before they got the new dorms.
Right.
It was
okay.
So it was like on that hill.
Yeah.
It was like, oh God, and it was just like, it was brutal. It was hot, and it was like one of the only rougher training camp I had was the first year in New Orleans, down in Jackson, Mississippi, at University of Millsap. It was 100+ every day.
That humidity down there.
It was brutal, but it was like the camp was. I think my first camp was kind of difficult because learning the playbook. It's like in college, you pretty much know the playbook. You know where you're supposed to go, but in the pros, it's like they expect more. And so they been the class doing the classroom work, studying and being ready for each and every opponent. It's like it was a job. It's a job, but it was a job that you got to have fun at doing. If you did it right, then you lasted and you had a good time. If you did it wrong, you didn't last that long, and the coach will be yelling at you. And then the part that you hate is when he stops yelling at you. Because that means that means your days are numbered.
Well, I was just going to say you just said that, and we had an athlete from down here who was a tremendous 2-sport athlete. He played football and baseball at Villanova, Matt Caesar, who was projected to be a 4th to 6th round pick for the NFL, but the Chicago Cubs gave him a ton of money for baseball. He had a brief major league career, played in the minors. And he said something to me one time that stuck, and I had seen him somewhere, and a lot of these kids were coming up and asking for autographs. And I was kidding around, and I said, man, that's got to get old sometimes, doesn't it? And he said, no. He says, the only problem with autographs is when people stop asking for them.
Yep.
Do you have that same?
But it doesn't take anything to stop and talk to people or give them a picture or anything. You have to be a real jerk to walk by somebody if they say, "Hey, I remember you." It's like, "Oh, hey, can I take a picture? Can I talk to you for a second?" It's like what do you? It's like what? It's easy. It's easy to be nice. It's
Yeah.
easy. It's easy to be nice, and it's like I don't say no to. I really don't say no to anybody. I kind of give you what you give me. If you're being a jerk to me, I'm going to be a little bit of a jerk
Yeah,
to you.
that's
But it's like, it takes absolutely no muscles whatsoever to be kind to people. And it's like if you, it's like, and it comes back to you tenfold. It's like because there's going to be a time when absolutely nobody recognizes you.
Yeah,
So,
and I was going to say the way Philadelphia is such a sports rabid city, and for you to play 10 years with the organization, I got to imagine you're absolutely beloved in the city, especially with your personality and everything, and it's got to make you feel good all these years on that you're recognized for what you did for the city and the organization.
it's great to know that the people watch the game. It's like you. The one thing I've been where I thought the grass was greener, so you go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful what you wish for, because it's not the same. I went from practicing in front of between 8,000 and 10,000 people to New Orleans, where I was practicing in front of 50. I was like, the first practice, I was like, so this is this is all we got.
Yeah.
And somebody was like, yeah.
And it's not like Lehigh was down the street from
No, it's not.
Philadelphia. It was a couple hours up the northeast extension there.
That's another thing that I think the current players are missing out on. It's like, how many people that I come across who, when they were kids, that used to be their vacation. Coming up to Lehigh, that used to be their vacation, and you also got to interact with the fans more. I think that's the one thing I think is going by the wayside. The not having the training camps away from the city and giving the people somewhere to go. You have the little open practices, but it's not the same.
Right.
It's like we used to have the people. There used to be so many people out there. They would watch us hit the dummy, go get the one-on-one pass rush. But I know that was like a show for everybody, watching the offensive line go against the defensive line, and then watching the 907, and then we get the live periods, and you really get to see the team as it's cultivated. And it's like you get to see guys who are on the cusp of either being cut or like myself, being an undrafted free agent, because it was a bunch of times where being an undrafted free agent, so people start saying, who's number 78, who's number 78? Because I started doing pretty decently. Once I got the defense down and knew what I was supposed to do and knew where I was supposed to be at, then I started doing pretty good. So.
All right, so we're up against the break here. We're live at the Mudhen in Wildwood. Stop on by. We've got a nice crowd here today. This is the Reality Check Ultimate Sports Preview. Star of the show, 14-year NFL veteran Hollis Thomas. Of course, 10 great seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles. Make sure during the breaks you stop by, say hello to Hollis. We'll give you an autograph, take a picture, whatever you'd like. And, again, we're here till 4 o'clock. We'll take a break now. We'll be back right after this on 98.7 The Coast. All right, back live at the Mudhen Brewing Company. I'm Brian Cunniff alongside the star of the show, 14-year NFL veteran Hollis Thomas, of course, 10 years with the Philadelphia Eagles. We're talking all things NFL and the Eagles, and we're here till 4 o'clock. Stop on by the Mudhen. It's a great spot in Wildwood, and you can even hang out outside. It's a little chilly out, but they have the heaters out there. It's great.
Yep.
You throw a sweater on.
And they have a Giants. They have a Giants fan out there
Giants
serving
fan
you.
behind the bar.
Serving you.
Yeah, feel free.
The way that they should be.
Yeah, feel free. Yes. Yeah, feel free to throw stuff at him as you come in, too. Just nothing that, might hurt him.
Yeah.
Napkin or something, whatever. But Anthony's a good dude. He actually played basketball for me when I used to coach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was he a good player? Or was he subpar?
He's a good dude.
So he stunk up the joint.
Well, listen.
You got to know. Put it this way: you got to know I'm pretty good. You guys sat next to each other during the games.
That's right. Yeah. He played a little bit.
Not enough that you know.
All right. Some updates on these 1 o'clock games as they move either inside the 2-minute warning or right up to halftime. Tampa Bay leads Atlanta 17-10. The Bills and Patriots are tied at 14 after the Bills got off to a pretty good start there. The Vikings have a 16-6 lead on Chicago. The Ravens have gotten back into the game a little bit with Cincinnati, but the Bengals still lead 17-7. The Texans lead the Colts 17-7. The Jets and Dolphins are tied at 3 at halftime. And if that game wasn't in Miami with the great weather, man, that would be difficult to watch. The Saints are up 7-0 on the Panthers. That has just gone to halftime.
I got some questions for you.
Yeah.
This segment. You've been watching the Birds, right?
Yeah.
So have you been watching Jonathan Gannon?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
You're really putting me on the spot here. Well,
it's an easy question.
All right, I'll give you my micro answer first.
Okay.
I certainly don't think they played as poorly last week as some people say they did. They gave up 1 touchdown.
But the part that a lot of people like to bring out extra numbers and start talking about where he's ranked. Do you know last week they had the ball for 37 minutes?
Right. That's
not good for us.
Right.
They were 7-16 on 3rd down.
True.
You let Andy Dalton open up the game with a 15-play, 75-yard drive.
Agreed.
You know how demoralizing
they didn't score another touchdown on you.
But you let them hold the ball. They don't have to score if you're not scoring.
Oh, I agreed. Agreed.
This is the part of the bend but don't break. You can't have that mentality in the NFL. No, not defensively.
Well, and especially the way the rules are now.
Yeah.
You can't put your hands on a receiver. You just can't sit back and just let. And that was my problem. My problem with last week was, and maybe you could speak better to this. I just thought that they were playing way too much zone defense.
Yes.
For what has basically been an average journeyman quarterback.
Yes.
And at some point, hey, let's press up and play man. If we get beat once, but let's make him really have to make a throw. Yeah, and they didn't do that for long stretches.
We didn't do that at all. And we did. That's what happened in the Cowboys game as well. Mm-hmm. That's why 30-30 was you had.
Yeah.
The Cowboys game, it sticks in my craw because we just lost one of our safeties. It's 3rd-30. You have a young guy who plays corner and safety. I guarantee you, he didn't know that he had over the top on that play on T.Y. Hilton. I was like, and you call that, you put him in that predicament. You're supposed to make him make a fast decision, make the quarterback make a fast decision, so your guys can rally to the ball. If they get 30 yards off of a short pass, then you need to fire everybody on the defense for not tackling and not hustling to the ball. That was 3rd-30. It's like, and you let him sit back there and launch one.
Yeah, and so when you're no doubt. I've had that argument. I've had that argument with people. People will say, "Well, it's 3rd and 18. You don't have to blitz, play people in front of you." My thing would be, again, go get to the quarterback, make him throw it early. If you make a tackle, there's no way they get 18 yards.
And not only that, you don't let a professional quarterback will carve you up like a Thanksgiving turkey if you give him time. When you give somebody time, and not only that, your DBs are not going to be able to cover for that long. I was like, and then they got the deck is stacked against you because you're only rushing 4 or 3, and the epitome that really ticked me off was if he wasn't dropping Hassan Reddick in coverage, he would probably have 25 sacks. Why are we dropping Hassan Reddick into coverage?
Yeah, because you didn't bring him here for that.
I saw him covering Irv Smith in the in the Minnesota game and almost lost my mind. Why is one of our best pass rushers dropping into coverage? You're supposed to be putting the other team on notice. You dictate to them. You dictate to them what they can and can't do. We be getting our butt kicked sometimes. And some people talk about the numbers and stuff and where we're ranked. I was like, Howie, probably GM of the year, and when he went out and got those 2 guys that everybody was saying was on the street to make the defense go. But sometimes you have to get those guys up front. You have to reward them for what they're doing. So that means you run some blitzes where they can get on the edge and get some single teams instead of always running into a brick wall. The worst indictment was last year when we was in the playoffs versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You heard Tom Brady and Byron Leftwich say, you know where they're going to be at. They don't deviate from the norm. It's like, they know where you're going to be at. So all they have to do is run double teams and get the ball up on the linebacker. That's 4 or 5 yards. And just keep you on the field.
So essentially what we're getting at here is you're not a Jonathan Gannon fan.
No. Me and Seth, my boy Seth Jordan, we normally text back and forth throughout the game because, I don't know, last year we played against the Jets with Zach Wilson at quarterback. Do you know what Zach Wilson's numbers was at halftime of that New York Jets game? He was 12 of 14 with 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
What? I was always taught when you have a young quarterback, you welcome him into the NFL.
Yeah.
Yes, because you're not gonna have the cakewalk you had in college. We gave Zach Wilson the cakewalk that first half.
So now you were a tackle, so you weren't necessarily expected to have the huge sack numbers. But I know you had a couple years where you had 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Right.
I have over 500 tackles in my career.
Right.
So it's been games where I have 8 or 9 tackles. I think the most I had in a game was like 13.
Yeah.
I was like, but I'm out there to make plays.
Yeah.
I'm out there to put him in, get him in 3rd down, and get him in 3rd and long.
But what's the difference for a defensive lineman? Not even so much schematically, but just maybe from a mental standpoint, when you know that the defensive coordinator is saying we're bringing an extra guy or we're bringing 2 extra guys. What does that do on that particular play?
Schematically for me, I used to know where everybody's supposed to be at, so that I know what I could do. So if you bring in an extra guy, I'm trying to see where he's coming from, because if you say I'm lined up to the right and he's coming from the left, that gives me latitude to go to my right a little bit more and to set the guy that's up in front of me for a quick victory. But you always do your job first. You do your job first and then become a football player. And I don't think he's given. Our defense is too good athletically for him not to be putting people on notice.
Right.
That's what's ticking me off.
So when you're, and I don't know how much this happens with a tackle, but
I've dropped in coverage before.
But my question would be, if you could somehow occupy 2 offensive linemen,
I always do.
It had to be a massive bonus for your defense.
Well, if they don't double team me, that's on them.
Right.
So if I don't get double teamed, my linebacker should hear if my linebacker gets touched, he should hear the crowd cheering because I made the play in the backfield.
Yeah.
If he's playing behind me.
Yeah.
Every linebacker that I played in front of went to the Pro Bowl.
Because I think sometimes
it's like you can't be that when you're playing in the defense, especially as a defensive tackle, you can't be selfish. You got to know what the defensive structure is. And sometimes people you see a guard just run up. He's not supposed to just run up there unscathed. He's supposed to hit him in his ear and make him go down and change his path to my linebacker. It's like you have to. But we don't make those type of concessions where we put a team on notice to where we're bringing extra people to where they're afraid of us.
So I got to imagine that there could be a game. There could be a game where maybe you only make 1 or 2 tackles, but
name it.
Well, I'm just saying. What I'm saying is though that if that linebacker behind you had a career game, and you did the things that you were supposed to do, you're going to grade on film, aren't you?
I always graded out great. I always led the D-line in tackles. It's like the way that you stay on the field and stay relevant is making plays.
Yeah.
Everybody can just do their job, step to their gap, and hold up two guys. It's learning how to defeat those two guys. It's learning how to push and pull, learning what they're doing. A lot of times, the double team is to get to your linebacker. So you got to see which guy has which guy. It's like when you push him, you got to see which guy has the job to get up to the linebacker, and you kind of push him that way. And when you push him that way, the gap normally opens up for you, or your defensive end are doing their job and they get in that field and boxing the back end, and you get a tackle like that.
In the NFL, most of the offensive linemen you faced were bigger than you.
Yeah. Only the center was like not as big. I always make sport of the center because he's normally a smaller guy.
Yeah.
He's fast, but you can be fast all you want to. When I put these on you.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get to that. The smaller guy. He's kind of become a cult hero in Philadelphia, and he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. When you see a Jason Kelsey, and obviously you played against some great offensive linemen and some great centers, what makes him stand out?
What makes him stand out is his ability to know when he's messing up and to just know the scheme. To have a center to be able to pull like that. Now sometimes when you go against the bigger teams, they will pick the weakest. The weakest link is normally the center. And you'll see some teams make some concessions to where they line up a zero of him. And I think the only time that's been a disadvantage for him is when he doesn't have veteran guards next to him, because then he has to make concessions and make up for them not being able to do what they're supposed to do. But I take him in any situation, he's like one of the best offensive centers I've seen. I played against Damani Dawson, Steve Everett, Kevin Mawai. He's right up there with those guys, and then he's got the longevity too. And the thing is his availability. He's rarely ever hurt.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's like you want your center to be that guy.
And I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what I see in today's NFL along the defensive line is that, especially the way the Eagles have done it, is the Eagles have really fostered a lot of depth there, and they run a lot of guys in and out.
That's what winning teams do. That's what we did.
Yeah.
We used to roll. When you see a defensive lineman do like this, to just tap his helmet, that means come get him next play.
Yeah.
That's a universal. Yeah. So when we subbed ourselves, that's the way Tommy Brady and Jim Johnson had it. So and we just don't. He just didn't want a tired guy in there because you had to chase the rock every play. You didn't want him to put the film up there and the ball is thrown out and the guy's running and you're loafing.
Yeah.
And you're being a spectator.
Yeah.
Or you talking about you fell on the ground. Jim says the ground is like lava. Get up.
Yeah. So about how many percentage of the plays on defense would you have played?
Most of the time, 50%. Early in my career, I was playing pretty much all of them. And then later, you know what? When I got to the Saints, I was playing like 85 to 90% of the plays.
And you were an older player then.
Yeah, but the funny part was, so I'm down there, and so we're watching film one day, and I normally run out the field on 3rd and long, and the guy who we had, our pass rush specialist, was getting his butt kicked week in and week out. And so I just happened to be halfway asleep in the meeting, and I heard I could leave Hollis out there for all that. I was like, hey, wait a minute, what? And so he's like, yeah. He said, Hollis, from now on, nickel, just stay out there.
Yeah.
So then I ended up playing all 3 downs, and then when I played with when I ended up going to Carolina, teams was knowing when I was playing with them, I was coming off on nickel because they had NASCAR, but then they developed. It was called the hand signal was nickel. That meant me, big nickel.
Big nickel.
Because some teams are running drop plays, and you got 4 defensive ends in there. Nobody's going to go for that double team, and then if they do go for it, they're going to take a bus trip to the safety.
Yeah. Yeah, so. I can imagine.
Yeah.
All right, some of these 1 o'clock games that most have gone to halftime by now, if not all. The Steelers are up 10-7 on the Browns. The Saints lead the Panthers 7-0. Jets and Dolphins tied at 3. Texans lead the Colts 17-7. The Bengals scored late in that second quarter. They now lead Baltimore 24-7 at the half, so they're in pole position in that game. The Vikings are up 16-6 on the Bears. Patriots and Bills are locked in a good one. They're tied at 14, and Tampa leads Atlanta 17-10. We're up against a break with 14-year NFL veteran Hollis Thomas. I'm Brian Cunniff. This is Reality Check, the ultimate sports preview. We're live at the Mudhen. We're here till 4. If you're in the building, you want to say hello to Hollis, get a picture or an autograph, you can do that during the break. We'll be back momentarily, live from the Mudhen. Reality Check, the ultimate sports preview show on 98.7 The Coast. All right, we are back live at the Mudhen. Brian Cunniff alongside 14-year NFL veteran Hollis Thomas. Of course, 10 great years with the Philadelphia Eagles. We're here till 4 o'clock at the Mudhen in Wildwood. Great place to be. Of course, all your craft beers. They do have a full liquor license here, so you can get pretty much any drink you want. And, of course,
I had last time I had the Hero Boy.
Okay.
It's a seasonal beer.
That's what I was going to say. It's like a holiday one.
It's a holiday one,
yeah.
but it was tasty.
Yeah, okay.
And it was full and had a whisper, I want to say, of cinnamon.
Okay.
Had a whisper of cinnamon.
A whisper of cinnamon.
Yes.
Are you a brewer on the side? I mean,
I just like to have some of the tasty lagers and taste the boldness. And actually, I'll go for the high alcohol content. So.
Okay.
The taste comes later.
Yes.
It's like you're trying to get there. It's like, why mess around?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so we're here till 4, and Hollis is going to hang out and watch a little bit of the game as well today.
Yes.
So make sure you stop by the Mudhen. Even if you can't get here by 4, you can certainly come by and meet Hollis Thomas. So let's get, we actually haven't talked much about
the Giants,
this actual game today. We've had so many great stories.
Well, yeah, because we've already played them once and we throttled them. But so this is one of these games where we're probably going to throttle them again. At least I hope we get back on track.
Yes.
And because they're not going to play some of their starters.
Well, right, and that's what I wanted to get into, because this is a weird scenario here, because the team that's higher in the standings right now, which is the Eagles, actually has more to play for, a lot more to play for than the Giants. The Giants' spot is basically set. The Eagles need to win, as we all know, to get home field throughout, get the number one seed and the bye next week. They don't have to play, and the Giants are not expected to play a lot of starters. They're going to play a former practice squad quarterback by the name of Davis Webb. Daniel Jones will not play.
They're not playing Tyrod Taylor?
I don't believe they are.
Is he still injured?
Yeah, I believe they're playing the practice squad player. And Saquon Barkley is expected not even to dress. So this is kind of a weird situation, isn't it?
Extremely weird situation. But I think the one thing that we can't get caught up in is what they're doing. We need to get back. We need to get back on track. It's like our quarterback was down for a couple of weeks. We need to build some continuity going into the playoffs. And you can't build that continuity in practice. A lot of times people start talking about practice and how great practice went. That's because nobody's trying to kill you.
Right.
So when you get into the game situations and you build that game speed and that game continuity with your guys, not only that, it's going to be some guys that may have to play due to some injuries that we have, like Lane Johnson being injured. I don't know if he's going to be back by then. Also, at the safety position, you're trying to get some guys back. And this game will go a long way. That bye will go a long way of getting guys healthy, but also in getting those guys who are going to be playing, getting them some much-needed playing time so they can build some continuity and get up to speed with the rest of the squad.
And how important is it for people to understand as well, this isn't, we all know, this isn't high school football. If starters are out, the kids on the other end are probably no good. I mean, these guys are all professional football players. So the Eagles, you can't just walk out on the field and expect to win the football game.
No, you can't. It's like not only that, you got to realize some of the guys that they're playing, they're actually playing for their NFL lives.
Right, for next year.
For next year. It's like, so if you go out there and lay an egg, and you go to another team, some of the guys may be free agents at the end of the season. But not only that, if you're trying to come back to the Giants and you go out there and you play, you stick up the joint. So it's going to be guys out there trying to win.
I don't know if you when you played if you experienced any of this, but the Eagles have in the last 8 or 10 years have had an unbelievable record against the Giants. It's kind of uncanny to have that in the division.
Yeah, see, I was part of the one when. We kept losing to them, and we finally beat them on a Monday night, and everybody was praising Donovan, and we only scored 10 points. Are you kidding me? The score was 10-9. But I digress. I'm not pissed about that anymore.
Well, I know. I thought the one stat I read, I believe the Eagles might be something like 17-5 in their last 22 games against the Giants. And
nice.
They have not lost at home to the Giants in 9 or 10 seasons. So
now, one thing that is puzzling me, what the hell are they sitting Daniel Jones for? I'm asking for a friend. Why are they sitting Daniel Jones?
I mean, I guess the reasoning is they don't want to see him get hurt. I don't know. But
they've been winning in spite of him.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta. Come on. I was like, really? I watched some of his college stuff before when he was getting drafted. I was like, what are they doing? And then so I saw some of the social media posts from New York Giants fans when they picked him. They were pretty pissed, and with good reason. You got the actual quarterback. If Brian Dable can't get him going, I don't think he can. And then they haven't even picked up his 5th-year option, have they?
I believe you are correct. Yes. Yeah.
So he's not. So why are we?
Yeah.
Sitting
if you don't have your faith in him yet, you should probably get another look at him against a good team.
Yeah, you should probably. Yeah, in a real situation.
Yeah.
So. But it'll be his first playoff game. That one kind of miffed me.
Well, how much does different scenario today because the Giants are going to sit so many people, but you have these division games. They're the only teams you play twice a year. How much does one game carry over to the next? The fact that the Eagles went up there and really laid the wood on them, and then they get to play them at home. I mean, how much in the NFL does that carry into the next game?
The one thing you can't do is think that just because you beat them there, that you're going to beat them again.
Right.
And you can't come out doing the same stuff you did up there, because now they've had time to look at film. They've had time to digest it. They've had time to break it down. So I guarantee you that there's going to be some adjustments made to make this a game. So and then it's one of those things where they may not even do anything, and they may just wait to see if they can see you in the playoffs.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah.
It's kind of like that's why you just go out and you lambaste them and kick their teeth in, and you don't have nothing to worry about.
Is there when you look at the teams that are in the playoffs in the NFC, is there a team out there that which team from an Eagles standpoint would quote unquote scare you the most to have to play?
I don't think any of the teams scare me. I think the formidable battles would be between the 49ers and then both teams being full power, playing the Cowboys and finally putting foot and they rump sideways to the next life. Because the weirdest thing about the Cowboys thing was earlier in the season when Cooper Rush was on his tear, they was talking about quarterback controversy.
Yeah, against
and
bad
the defense.
teams.
Yeah,
And then the Eagles roughed them up.
Yeah, roughed them up. But then we turn around and we come back with our backup quarterback. And they beat us by 6.
Yeah.
And they scored 40 on our defense, which I still, to this day, I still think we are too soft on defense. Mm-hmm. So that between that one and I don't think anybody really wants to play Green Bay right now.
You really think so? Yeah.
I
they're
think
playing that well.
I think they're running the ball well. I think then the guys are catching the ball, and you're not putting it all on Aaron Rodgers, and their defense is playing decently. So it's like one of those things where if they come in, you better be ready. And they have that guy about number 12 behind the center.
Okay, so if they're in, they're the bottom seed.
Right.
So if they happen to upset someone next week, then they would come to Philly.
Right.
Don't you think you'd feel good about the Eagles' chances? That, like, would you say that Green Bay you think Green Bay has enough to win a couple games in the playoffs then?
Not a couple.
Right, that's what
one.
I mean. Yeah.
Just one. But
Yeah.
if we really try to talk about it, San Francisco and Tampa Bay may have a little bit because they started to run the ball more, and their defense is like lights out. So, and I don't care what everybody keeps talking about Tom Brady. It's their defense.
How much does, for years there was always that thing with Tampa Bay that they never won a game on the road when the temperature was below a certain.
Yeah, they came and beat us.
They came and beat you. I wasn't going to bring that up.
You could
that part of it up.
Well, but I wasn't playing, so.
Yeah, that's right. You were hurt. That's right. So, but what? How much does that matter when you have a team like Tampa that has to go to a cold weather city, or even San Francisco where their weather is kind of mild? If they would have to go to a cold weather city, does that really make that much of a big difference in the playoffs?
When you think about Tampa Bay, they have Tom Brady, a quarterback who played in New England,
right.
And he's obviously he can play in the cold weather. But you think about San Francisco, the one thing that they do is run the ball.
Right.
And cold weather is run the ball weather.
You can do that anywhere.
And you can do that anywhere, and they play great defense. It's like I would love to have our defense be deployed like that, like Mufasa's deploying the defense. That's D'Amico Ryan. Everybody call him Mufasa.
What would you expect? What do you expect out of Jalen Hurts today? Like, what kind of game do you think he can have?
I expect him to come out and pretty much just solidify the game and be able to sit down in the third quarter.
Well, I was just going to say, do you envision a scenario? I guess the best case scenario would be the Eagles get a 3-touchdown lead at halftime and you pull them.
Well, you play them their first series in the third quarter,
right.
And if you score, then you just pull them,
right.
And then put Gardner in there and hope that Jonathan Gannon doesn't give it up. Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
put Gardner in there to hand the ball off too.
Yeah, get your run attack back going. I was like, we have some of the best trio of running backs in the NFL. And we ran the first 4 drives last week. We ran the ball twice.
Right. With a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Your opinion on the season that Miles Sanders has had. I think as much as it's been talked about, I still think in some ways it's underrated, don't you?
It's extremely underrated. But I think given the last few weeks of playing in Chicago, he didn't have that great a game, and then the Cowboy stuff, and then not getting the ball last week. I think he started to get frustrated with it, not getting the ball like he should, and I can see that because there's no way that we have a backup quarterback and we come out for 4 straight drives and only run the ball twice.
Right. Now, getting ahead of ourselves here, and we all know the position's kind of tricky in the NFL. I don't think the Eagles re-sign him. Do you?
No, somebody's going to offer him a lot of cash. And
right.
It's one of those things where you draft another running back and you get somebody. We need that bell cow again, like LeGarrette Blount. We need somebody like that to hit it downhill, because we have the quarterback that can take the pressure off, because that defensive end. If you watch the last 2 games, the defensive end has been crashing down. Gardner Minshew's been doing a bunch of extra stuff and all this. Nobody's paying attention to you. We know you're not going to run the ball. But having Jalen Hurts back there, it puts people on notice, because he will pull the ball and run it. So you have to respect that, and you have to honor that.
I think there's and I certainly got this, because I think you saw this a little bit with McNabb, with Cunningham. Maybe not so much with Vic, because he was so fast.
Yeah.
But Jalen Hurts sometimes doesn't look like he's running top speed, but he's running away from people.
Right.
And then we watched Gardner Minshew try to do some stuff on the outside, and it looked like he was running in quicksand.
And it was his top speed.
Right.
Even though it was like 5 miles per hour, but that, it was it's a tale of 2 tapes. You look and you see him, he just pulled away from people because he has that athletic ability. But then you see Gardner Minshew is like, I think he pulled the ball once, and they caught him before he could get to the edge. It was all bad.
Yeah. I guess my question, though, getting back to what I originally brought up to you, how sharp do you expect Hurts to be today? I mean, do you think there's going to be a little bit, he's got to knock the rust off maybe a little bit?
I don't think it's going to be too much rust, but I think he has to get back to basics and get back out there and, get back used to playing, because he's been off for 2 weeks. So he's practiced a little bit here and there, but practice is not the same. He's not getting touched. I think you just get him back to being warm, because I don't want him to be knocking the rust off in the first playoff game, as I said. So you want him to knock that off early, and you get him, you run the ball, come out there with some quick game, and not only quick game, play action fakes, run the ball some. And and utilize all your weapons.
I know you were on teams that had the bye in the first round. Back then, 2 teams got it in the first round. But how big is that after a long season?
It's actually for us now it's pivotal, because we got some guys that's injured that we'll be able to get back. Gives the guys their body a chance to rest and to recuperate, and they'll be a lot better. And I feel like they'll be like rejuvenated. And
how much rest actually goes on? Like, I know, like, a lot of times,
not that much.
I was going to say, when there is a bye week, the coach may give the players off, but I got to imagine a lot of the players are going in anyway, lifting weights or whatever you do.
You go in to take care of your body.
Right.
Like, you got some little nagging injuries and stuff. You try to get treatment on those. You lift weights and you do cardio so you can stay on point. And then it's a little different in the playoffs. It's everybody. You lose it, you go home. So everybody's I guess focused, and they're more diligent. They're more diligent in the regular season.
But how much fresher do you feel as a player after having had that bye?
You have what they call fresh legs. You'll see the guys who had the bye week, they'll be a little bit more what we call spry than everybody else. Yeah. So you'll see a noticeable difference than the team who's obviously been playing and had to play that week before. And it'll probably the energy you'll be able to tell towards the end of the game.
Right.
Because they'll still, the guys who had to buy and the rest, they'll still be going. So.
All right, we're up against the break. We are live at the Mudhen. This is Reality Check, the Ultimate Sports Preview, with 14-year NFL veteran Hollis Thomas. I'm Brian Cunniff here along for the ride, just enjoying the stories and enjoying all the people coming up to Hollis and getting the autographs and the pictures. You can certainly do that. And we had a great crowd here at the Mudhen. It's cleared out a little. We expect a bigger crowd will come in as we get closer to game time. But stop on by, say hello to the bartenders. You got Andrew behind the main bar, William in the garage bar, Anthony's outside. Live at the Mudhen, this is Reality Check, the Ultimate Sports Preview. We'll be back right after this on 98.7 The Coast. All right, we are back live on 98.7 The Coast. This is Reality Check, the ultimate sports preview show, starring Hollis Thomas, 14-year NFL veteran, 10 great years with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm Brian Cunniff, just kind of tagging along here, enjoying the afternoon. And we're into our final hour. We're here till 4, and Hollis said he's hanging out for a little bit afterward to watch the Eagles game. So if you can't get here before 4, you can certainly meet him a little bit after as well. And Eagles-Giants at 4:25, of course. Here's some of these other games.
Buffalo just scored on the pick 6.
Yes, after they had turned it over on a fumble. So it's turned into a real good game there.
Yeah.
Buffalo, you have the DeMar Hamlin situation, and the first play after that happened.
It's a
Buffalo
kickoff return.
returned the kickoff for
after a field goal.
touchdown. Yeah, that's their second one of the day, actually.
Yikes.
Because they returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown.
Somebody else asked me.
Yes.
And somebody asked me if I seen that. I was like, I'm doing a show.
That's right. And I told you this before, how I'm a basketball official. I have people texting me about rules in basketball. I'm a little busy right now. Some of these, the Buffalo leads New England now 21-17. Some of these other games at 1 o'clock. Steelers are up 13-7 on the Browns. Panthers and Saints are tied at 7. The Dolphins lead the Jets 6-3. Texans are up 17-14 on the Colts. Bengals are up big on Baltimore 24-7. But Baltimore does have the ball inside Cincinnati's 10-yard line, so they are on the verge of scoring, or could be anyway. The Vikings are up 23-13 on Chicago, and Tampa Bay, the NFC South champions, lead Atlanta 17-13.
Nice.
I did want to get into maybe some other Philly
Giants?
Sports. Well, we talked a little about the Giants, but some of the other Philly sports. I mean, how much? I know you live pretty close. Do you get down to Sixers games once in a while?
Yeah, a lot of times. Bob Cavanaugh, I go to his box. My buddy Jerry Evans, who's a Philly native, and he also was with me with the Saints. He has a luxury box. I go to a lot of Sixers games, and some of the Flyers games. Thanks to Jim from Harris. He's actually listening. But I get to go to a lot of those games and the baseball games as well.
Right.
With the people with the T-shirts I've been giving out, this Philly sports shirts. They do all Philly sports.
Right.
So they tailgate for all Philly sports, both home and away.
Right. So, speaking of that, there's got to be a major mutual respect and a kinship among
camaraderie
among all the athletes. And you probably had a lot of friends that played for the Phillies and Flyers and Sixers when you were in Philly. Talk about that.
Well, yeah, you'll like this story. So when I was working for the radio station, I got to go to spring training, and so it was around the batter's box. So somebody says, "Hey, you want me to throw you a couple?" Guess who it is? Mike Schmidt. I was like,
through your batting practice.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
He threw me batting practice.
He didn't hit you, did he?
No, he didn't hit me. The funny thing was, so then I heard somebody in the background. I was like, "What are you doing with that little ass bat? It looks like a toothpick in your hands." I was like, "When Michael Jack Schmidt asks you to throw batting practice, you grab the closest bat and you get your happy ass into the batter's box." But then I turned around and it was Charlie Manuel.
Oh, okay.
So then Charlie Manuel started giving me tips about hitting it out. I actually got it recorded and I posted it. But it was like one of those great feelings because I watched him as a kid growing up. And then just to, have that type of experience. But, yeah, it's like you have the mutual respect. When I was here, Bubba Chuck, AI was the man. And Aaron McKee was currently coaching the Temple. And all those guys, you used to always see them out and about, and had basically have a mutual respect. I've been to places where like when I was with the Saints, this will crack you up. So the Saints, the New Orleans Hornets was at the time when So I was cool with CP3, Chris Paul, and so we had this defensive back on our team who had just came from Indianapolis, Jason David. So he comes to the game. They're playing the Lakers. Guess what jersey he comes in?
A Laker jersey?
The Lower Marion Kobe jersey.
Oh.
And so CP was like, "Hey, man, what's wrong with your boy?" I was like, "He is not with me."
Yeah.
And so at the time, Jason David was stinking up the joint on the field, and it seemed like the entire crowd got quiet. And the fans, I was sitting courtside, a fan sitting to my immediate right leaned down and say, "Jason David, you suck." So the fans, when you in a city, what's the guy's name? He had one good month with the Phillies of hitting home runs.
Dominic Brown?
Yeah, then he showed up in the Michael Irvin jersey. Ain't been the same since, huh?
No, yeah, it doesn't. No, that's not gonna go over well in Philly.
What's the dude who couldn't throw from out in the outfield? He showed up in the Atlanta Braves, not Atlanta Braves, but Atlanta Falcons. Stuff.
Yeah.
It's like when you have a mutual respect. And you go with the teams that are in your city. You support them, and they support you.
Yeah.
So some guys get it, some guys don't.
How much? What do you like about the Sixers? Are they an NBA championship contender?
I don't know. Right now, it's like you would think that they had the pieces, but it's like given what's going down, they can't really stay healthy.
Yeah.
Then a lot of people don't like Glenn Rivers.
No.
The way he's deploying the team, and it seems like we have a lot of young talent that he doesn't really mix in with the older guys. And then we went and made concessions to get pay the PJ Tucker guy. I wasn't really on board with that. I know he plays a role, but I wasn't for giving him that much money.
Paying a lot of money to do a role.
Yeah, because I don't know if you've been watching the games, but teams don't check him.
No.
On the offensive end.
I know he went 5 or 6 straight games at one point without scoring.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of impossible in an NBA game. When you
– Well, not only that, it was the game I just watched. It was so funny. The game, I forgot who had the ball. I want to say it was Shake Milton had the ball around the and PJ just happened to be standing behind him. So both defenders, instead of guarding PJ, they just both went to Milton. And PJ was standing there like, I was like, yeah, we're not throwing you the ball.
Yeah.
We've seen what you do with it. Absolutely nothing.
When it's so hard sometimes to gauge. We talked about this with football, to gauge the athleticism and the extraordinary skill level when you're watching on TV. But as you said, you get to go to a lot of Sixers games. What's it like watching a man the size of Joel Embiid move and what he does with his footwork and things like that?
There's poetry in motion, man. You just you appreciate the footwork because a lot of times people just think that you're just a big old athlete. It's like you just pay attention to some of the footwork and all the moves he has. He go the inside, outside. I do get pissed, though, because I think he should take him down low and dominate first, and then
Agreed.
Then and only then step outside to show them his game, his versatile game.
Yeah, yes.
But that's just my opinion. I'm a novice, so.
Yes, yeah. So, and how many Phillies games do you get to a year?
As many as I can. I don't know. Like I just kind of go. It's like you be up there in the box and stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm always in the boxes. I like having my bathroom right there.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm always so I get invited to the box sometimes with people, and probably like 20 or 30.
Yeah,
something like that.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's
good. It's a great time.
It's convenient. I know you live so close.
Yeah, I live so close,
yeah.
And then it's like you go down there, and it's sunny outside. It's a great day.
Yeah.
And the treats, the tasty treats, as far as the food that they have roaming around there.
Well, it's interesting because most of the people who do live down here are Philly sports fans, but it's like an event when you live down here to go to a game.
Well,
we're an hour and a half away.
Right.
You have to do all this planning. You have to leave at a certain time. And I remember growing up in the city, back then, the Phillies actually, their game started later. They would start at 7:35. And I remember I could leave my house at 7:05 and be in my seat before first pitch. But for the people from down –
Veteran Stadium?
Yeah, the old Veteran Stadium, yeah.
I played in there. Oh, God.
Yeah. Was it really like concrete?
Yeah. Pretty much like they laid a welcome mat on some concrete with no padding.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you? I don't know if I think you were playing. Were you playing when the preseason game was canceled?
Yeah, I was one of the player reps who suggested we cancel it. I'm not just going to play on that. It was like a big dividend on second base. Like literally, like
Yeah, where the covering for second base was.
Yeah. Well, it was just a covering. That's all. It was pretty much a landmine. It was just a hole.
Yeah. This Eagles Giants game today, and we all know that the Giants are going to sit some players.
Right.
And I know that you, as a player, you're conditioned to play, and we all know there's a bigger picture out there if you're going to hold guys out for the playoffs. How do players feel about being told, hey, you're not going to play today, we're going to sit you because we have playoffs coming up and we don't want you to get hurt? I mean, I got to imagine as a player you want to be out there.
You do want to be out there, but if you don't have anything to play for, you have to do what's the greater good for the team.
Yeah.
You have to, especially if you have some nagging injuries, it gives you an opportunity to rest. And you have to get, at a certain point in your career, they have to be able to do that for you, to you, because the wear and tear on your body is extreme. It's a lot, and for you to be able to get that type of rest and be able to miss a week without any consequences or repercussions, it should help them out in the playoffs.
So you
have to be mature enough to be able to miss that time and still don't miss a beat.
Right. Be ready for the following week. Yeah. So what is I know you kind of alluded to it earlier, but from a Giants standpoint, it sounds like you'd be concerned with them resting guys today, considering their situation.
You talking about the Giants?
Yeah.
I would be, because I don't think. I mean, you kind of limped into the playoffs.
Right.
It's like you since we played you last, you went 2-1, but the two games it was like dog. Two of the games was. One of the games was a dogfight, and then the other one, you did manage to score 38 points last week, and it was. I'd be trying to build more continuity. It's like, I just don't know about that, because especially being a young team too. It's not like they make the playoffs all the time.
Right.
It's kind of like, I don't know if you remember the situation with baseball when the Nationals sent Strasburg.
Yeah, they had the innings limit on them.
Yeah. And they ended up setting them like they was going to just be in the playoffs for forever, and it took them a while to get back to that respectability.
Yeah.
It's like, now you have to strike while the iron is hot.
No doubt.
Because you never know if you're going to be in that position again. Kind of like, remember Dan Marino went to the Super Bowl this rookie year and got Joe Montana. And he never went back.
Never went back. Yeah, exactly. When you look at this game today, do you expect to see the Eagles team that we saw, back when they were basically dominating the NFL? Do you see that team showing up today?
I see a form of that team showing up. I think they get back to doing that, because you got the generals back, and we actually need Jonathan Gannon to put the teams on notice that he's not going to be an easy win. Mm-hmm. It's like, because when you let the quarterback stand back there and play 7-on-7, because people are going to. We have a good defensive line, so people are going to run some max protection, and they're gonna leave some guys in to protect, so that you don't get there real quick. It's like you have to do some things different to put them on notice, and you got to run some man coverage too. Quit running the zone. We get torched in zone.
And I'm kind of going all over the place here, but this stuff that comes to my mind that I want to ask you. What's the Eagles organization like in terms of as a longtime ex-player? What's the relationship not only with you but maybe with former players? How do they treat you guys?
They treat us actually pretty good.
Yeah.
But that's where you think I got the pictures from.
Yeah.
That's like they give us appearances and stuff like that. Like people, that's another thing too. You have appearances at the stadium or in the box or throughout the suites and stuff, and they do the kind of like a homecoming game where all it's alumni day during preseason. Yeah. And then they have you coming in and out. Anytime you want to go see a practice or anything, you're always welcome over there. Mm-hmm. They try to keep a nice relationship, and they've been doing it. They've been keeping a nice relationship with all the guys. So,
and then the other question I have is because you probably see it, you certainly see it more in football than any other sport. It's the only two. Well, you have soccer, but the major sports here in America. baseball for the most part is played during warm weather. It gets a little cold in the northern cities in the playoffs. But, in football, you go from, when you're a high school and you're a college, even a college, it kind of ends right as it's getting cold.
Right.
You start in the searing heat.
It depends on where you play.
Well, it depends on where you play.
Yeah, because
if you play in the South, you may never get cold.
Yeah, it's like playing at Northern
Northern. Yeah, you
only have summer and winter.
Yeah, well, it's true. Yeah, true. But I mean, is there a day? I just wonder, like, when you run out of the tunnel playoff game when it's 22 degrees and windy out, do you actually think to yourself, this season started in the searing heat in August in Lehigh?
Well, you remember the pickle juice game?
Yes.
It was 130 on the turf.
Was it? Was it that hot?
Yeah. And then we ended actually, I want to say in January up in the the Meadowlands at that time, because the Giants beat us 3 times that year.
Yeah.
And it's like you're like, oh man, it's like it's still cold outside. I mean, it's actually really cold outside. So when you get to January, you just think about it's a long time.
Yeah.
And it's like once you get to the end, it's like, man, that was a long time. But it seems like it could go so fast.
All right, updating some of these 1 o'clock games. Atlanta leads Tampa Bay 20-17. Buffalo's up 21-17 on the Patriots. But the Bills do have the ball again and are driving. Minnesota's up 26-13 on Chicago. The Bengals have a 27-10 lead on Baltimore. So we talked about Baltimore. They only got a field goal out of that last drive when they were deep in Cincinnati territory. Texans are up 24-21 on the Colts. That must be a real joy to watch. Jets and Dolphins are tied at 6. Panthers and Saints are tied at 7. Steelers are now up 20-7 on Baltimore, and they also have the ball as they get set to start the fourth quarter. So the Steelers are in control in that one. This is the Reality Check Ultimate Sports Preview. And we're glad you could join us here at the Mudhen and on the airwaves on 98.7 The Coast and on our various live streaming platforms. And again, great spot here at the Mudhen, one of the great places in Cape May County to go out for a bite to eat or a drink or come out with friends to watch the NFL. They've got a bunch of TVs in here, and that's good sight lines for everything. You can stop on by. Our show ends at 4. Hollis Thomas is going to hang out a little bit for the Eagles game itself. So if you can't get here then, you want to meet him, he will be around. And we've had a lot of fun already, and we'll come back. We got a break coming up here. Reality Check, the Ultimate Sports Preview Show, back after this on 98.7 The Coast. All right, back live at the Mudhen Brewing Company and Restaurant in Wildwood. I'm Brian Cunniff alongside 14-year NFL veteran Hollis Thomas for Reality Check, the ultimate sports preview show. We're here till 4 o'clock. We've had Eagles fans young and old, and we have an Eagles fan very young right here, Hollis.
It's kind of awkward.
How old? 1 month old. Oh, cool. Has Eagles stuff on already. You know you're signing her up for a Philly sports fan, all Philly sports? a lifelong of misery. You do know that,
right? Cool.
But what a cute kid.
Yes, he is.
Best of luck. Best of luck to you. We are here till 4 o'clock. It's again, the Reality Check, the ultimate sports preview show, starring Hollis Thomas. I'm Brian Cunniff, just kind of guiding it along. We're having a lot of fun and here at the Mudhen. And one thing I did want to touch on is...
Hold on a second. I just got a hero boy here.
I know you did. You got to get that good taste in. I know you like that one. You'll be disappointed when that comes off tap here.
I know.
It's only a seasonal beer.
I know, with the whisper of cinnamon.
Yeah.
It's so delicious.
So
it's like once it hits your lips. So good.
So one thing I did want to touch on, and I know this isn't your forte, but we here at 98.7 The Coast, we do cover a lot of high school sports in the area.
I was going to ask you about that.
And there was a wonderful day of high school basketball for some of the Cape May County teams yesterday. Lower Cape May, which Hollis is about 10 minutes away. You go over the bridge and south on Route 9. They beat Holy Cross in overtime yesterday, 52-50. They were missing their leading scorer, and they were down 22 points in the third quarter and came back, forced overtime, and won. That was up at the Seagull Classic. Wildwood had a big upset win yesterday. Wildwood's right here in town, of course, and they beat a 6-1 Millville team. Wildwood's a very small Group 1 school. Millville's a big Group 4. Wildwood beat them 48-35. They held Millville to 5 points in the first half.
Wow.
And then Middle Township, which is a very good team, and you'll be interested to know this, Hollis. Middle Township is coached by Lamar Greer, who was a McDonald's All-American as a high school player at Middle. He ended up playing 4 years at Florida State, was a 3-year starter. Never made it to the NBA, although he did get into a Sixers training camp. But he played a long season, a long career professionally overseas. Very good man. Their team won at Bishop Eustis 49-42 yesterday. That Bishop Eustis team is very good. So I did want to mention that. I know you went to high school in Missouri.
Yes.
Was there a lot of coverage of high school sports in the media there where you grew up?
A little bit. I had the Suburban Journal. They used to always cover the Public Art League. And then I was known as the man with two high schools coming out because I went to the Academy of Math and Science. But we didn't sponsor football because we were a bunch of geeks. So I got to play for the school that was in my neighborhood, and ended up winning back-to-back state championships.
Nice.
And
did you play both ways?
Yes,
in high school. Yeah,
I played it. It's like so. When I played every offensive line position. I was a long snapper. I also kicked. I played defensive end, defensive tackle, and linebacker. Middle linebacker. And I kicked. Yeah. But because I think I kicked, something happened with our kicker, so. You just had to have a kicker out there. It was high school. It wasn't much. We went for two most of the time anyway, so I just had to kick off.
So in other words, they didn't trust your kicking ability to kick extra points.
No, just to kick off because I could boot it with the best of them down there.
Yeah, that's good.
I would try to get a touchback most of the time.
It seems to me that probably the further you get away from the big cities, there's more coverage to high school and prep sports.
Well, yeah, we have to go to some of those schools that was out where it was pretty much the whole city was coming to watch their team get their butts kicked. Yeah, because as I put it this way, we got to 1 year. I want to say my senior year, our playoff wins 52-0, 66-0, 28-8. And 36-14 was a state championship.
Nice.
Yeah, we were kicking people around.
Now, did you have any other guys that went on your team?
No, just me.
Yeah, okay.
I was
any other Division I players?
No, I
No?
pretty much was the only one who took enough courses and stuff and took all the proper tests to get into college.
Gotcha.
Responsibility.
What led you to Northern Illinois? Who else recruited you?
There was a couple of other big schools that wanted me to. Nebraska wanted me to walk on, and Michigan called me like the day after my national signing. It was like, but everybody else was saying that the scholarship was only good for 24 hours to the next morning. And I was like,
So how committed to you are they?
So Northern said that whenever I was ready.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, you've made my mind up for me.
Yeah.
Because and then when I said I was coming there, everybody came in like it was a party.
Mm-hmm.
So, but going to training camp when I had to try to get that first sip of water, all the joy was gone because I was getting yelled at because you weren't supposed to get.
They got you to sign on the dotted line.
Yeah, they had already got me. I was like, hey,
you were good that day, but no good anymore.
Everybody, you don't get water until I say so. Oh God.
Yeah, they had to start to coach you up. Yeah. So down here, it's interesting. You wouldn't maybe necessarily think it because we're a shore community, a resort community, but high school basketball it's incredible down here.
Okay.
Like and we've had some state championship teams, both boys and girls. I guess the best way to describe it is most of our teams down here punch above their weight.
Okay.
They do a little better than you might think.
Than you might expect them to.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, years ago, Jim can attest to this. My partner Buddy Tarbot, who I do the games on the radio with, we started doing games 28 years ago, and we kind of did it as a trial. It was one of those things. Hey, let's. Years ago there was an old AM station that did them, and then no one did them for a while, and then okay, let's do a couple of games and see how it goes. And it's just taken off, and we end up doing anywhere from 25 to 30 games a year, and state playoffs, and it's a good time? It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a lot of fun to see.
Well, because when you think about it, the game that you get to go see, it's the chumpness. When I say chumpness, all the prima donnas and that stuff hasn't started yet. So
yes.
A lot of people out there playing for not only for the joy of the game and the thrill of victory.
Yeah.
So you get a lot. You see a lot.
And you're playing for your community.
Yes. Then they also play a lot harder too.
Yeah.
If you look at it, sometimes you watch an NBA game, you're like, he's walking. It's like he's walking.
Yeah.
Or you yelling out, push it, and then they slow roll and bring the ball up court. But then you see the games that you see the high school games, they're pushing it and they're trying to win.
Yeah, no question about it. It's it is. It's a lot of fun. I mean, how much do you get back and see games at that level? I don't know if you do.
Talking about high school?
Yeah.
I was coaching Robbinsville, the Ravens, for a hot second. It was in New Jersey with
up near Trenton.
Yeah, with Everett Fryer. But doing that, it was just like the weird, not the weirdest thing, but I saw some of the kids that I was coaching. Like some years later, at a bar, I was like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "That was like 5 or 6 years ago. I'm 21 now."
I'm 21 now. Yeah,
I was a senior. I was like, "Okay," but it's great to see that type of competition that you never realize how much of an effect that you can have on the kids' life. Just showing them the basic things of the sport of football in general, and just the life lessons. And they always remember you because you were the cool guy.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and kids have to, their attention to you must be more on point as well because of the places that you've been in the game.
And then I'm a technician too, so I try to give them the integral parts of the game, and it's a lot of times it's all about your technique, and pretty much breaking. If you do all your film study and you practice properly, the game should be easy. It should be fun. If the game is not fun, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, no question about it.
It's like you look at some of the guys, like you were talking about the high school guys. It's like a joy to see them play sometimes because you still being a kid. It's like it's what the game is all about. Whatever sport it is, it's like once you get to a certain point, like college is still fun. All the college stuff is still fun to watch because they're trying to get to the pros. But I don't know what happens when some of the guys get to pros. I think that some people think that they have arrived and figure out this not what they really want to do because of the amount of work you have to put in. It's like, but you worked to get here, and you're just going to squander it?
Well, and to that point, you played 14 years in the NFL, and you tried to keep going after that, you know, and you know
Your body
were
says
getting,
no, though.
well, you were, but you know, you were getting paid well to do it,
Right.
You know, so but at heart, to be able to play that long and put your body what you put it through, ultimately you had to really love the game.
Yes, I do. I still love the game. I love watching the game. I love breaking down the tape and stuff, and watching and seeing different ways. I love getting into the minds of offensive coordinators because they pretty much they never change. They want to do the sexy thing. All offensive coordinators want to do now is pass. But running, because of the weather, when the weather starts getting cold, if you could run the ball in the playoffs and stop the run, you will always almost make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You go. It never. The game will never change because the one thing that when you have a lead and you still trying to pass, an incomplete pass does what?
Stops the clock.
Yes, and it gives the other team an opportunity to get back into the game. Hence why Buddy Ryan swung on Kevin Gilbride.
Yeah.
Run and shoot.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that. And I remember watching that and thinking about, like, and people were outraged. Some people were outraged, and other people were like, he should have gone and done that. It was stupid.
Yeah, you steady passes. All you got to do is turn around and hand the ball off.
Yeah. Yeah, so all right, this is Reality Check, the ultimate sports preview. Another update on all the 1 o'clock games. Buffalo has a 28-17 lead on New England, but the Patriots are driving.
Fourth quarter.
Atlanta leads Tampa 27-17. So they've come back in the second half here after trailing 17-10 at the break. Bills lead I just mentioned the Bills. They're up 28-17. Vikings lead Chicago still 26-13. Cincinnati has a 27-13 lead on Baltimore. The Colts are up 28-24 on the Texans. Jets and Dolphins are still tied at 6 in the fourth quarter. Thank goodness the weather's good in Miami. Otherwise, that game would be excruciating to watch.
Yes, it would be.
Carolina and New Orleans, not much better there. New Orleans tied at 7 in the fourth. And the Steelers lead Cleveland 20-14. And we're up against the break. We'll come back. We're live at the Mudhen. Stop by and join us. Again, we're here till 4, but Hollis Thomas will be hanging around for a little bit after that to watch the Eagles.
And have a hero boy.
Yeah, you know, exactly.
With a whisper of cinnamon.
Here, with a whisper of cinnamon.
Yes.
A whisper of cinnamon. So stop by the Mudhen. Maybe you can have your own whisper of cinnamon. This is Reality Check, the ultimate sports preview. Back in a moment, 98.7 The Coast. All right, we're back live at the Mudhen for Reality Check, the ultimate sports preview. I'm Brian Cunniff alongside 14-year NFL veteran Hollis Thomas. We've had a great time here at the Mudhen, and we're into our final segment already.
Yeah.
And
time really flies
now I
when
know
you're
why
having
we're
fun.
billing it as the fastest sports talk show, because
Yes.
it has gone fast.
Time flies when you're having a good time.
Yes, yes, it does. What are some of the things that are going on right now in the bowels of Lincoln Financial Field? What are the last minute preparations? You know, you have an Eagles game at 4:25. Right now it's 3:38. What would be going on in terms of the preparation for the players right now?
Getting taped, getting your hydration level checked, then getting ready to go out and warm up. Like right now, let me see. Probably got the quarterbacks are out there throwing it around now. The last people to come out is the defensive and offensive line. We come out last, and you stretch before. I did learn this. You get stretched before you go out there because you're just warming up when you go out there. There's no stretch lines or anything. Like in college, you go out and stretch. There's like no, in the NFL, you get stretched before you go out there. And I was like, man. So you go out and you warm up and stuff. And then when they call it up, I used to call the huddle, because I was a left defensive tackle, you always call the huddle. I'll be like, house, build me one. So a lot of people that played would be calling me house, because they could hear me from probably miles away yelling out house. But once we would break it down after warming up, we would the offense defensive line would get together and break it down. Normally one of the guys would get up front, like Trey T, or get up there or something. But I'm normally happy, so I don't have any ill will towards anybody. But I'm out there to kick some rum.
Yeah.
So it's and I just have a good time. But we do that, and then we go through the few plays, and then we used to break it down in the middle of the field, and then we start getting fined for that, for stomping on other people's logo and making it to the middle of the field. But right now it's the time of build-up. I'll probably be popping open a can of whoop ass to restore faith in mankind.
Yes, restore faith in mankind.
So that was because I used to get that from. Thank you, Kim. Kim Sports used to give me cases of actual whoop ass. It was an energy drink.
Oh, okay.
And that was the logo, to restore faith in mankind.
Nice. So how much does, certainly at the high school level, the college level, there's probably more of a rah-rah stuff from the coach. What is the coach's message right before you start a game?
Well, in college, it was not really rah-rah. And even when I was in high school, our coach didn't allow us to hit the pads and do all those chants and stuff. He's like, you wasted energy. Yeah. He's like, the only pads that make sound that matter is during the game. And normally the people who hit the pads the loudest normally getting their butts kicked, because we used to throttle some people in high school. We had a finely tuned not much killer machine, an oiled machine, so to speak. But the rah-rah stuff, that's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
Let's say I was one kid in college. He got so hyped before the game. Saline Phillips from St. Louis, we got him in Northern Illinois, got so hyped before his first college game that he passed out. Had to get an IV. I was like, how do you pass out and need an IV before the game even starts?
Right.
It was like, you haven't even hit anybody. It's like, you didn't even get through warm-ups. So
a little too much anxiety there, too.
A little too much. He was a little too hyped. It's like, you don't want to you don't want to peak before it's time. It's like because sometimes you can waste energy and plays. It's kind of like if you fight during practice. That's energy you can use in practice that you just wasted swinging at somebody who has on pads.
Yeah. So what exactly so when is the timeline, and when exactly is that last message that the coach? Is there one big gathering of the whole team before you go out?
It's after we come back in after
warm up.
After warm up, and everybody we run a few plays. Run a few plays out there, and then he's like, call it up. We call it up. And then when everybody goes in, and then when he says 2 minutes, that's the call. 2 minutes.
Yeah.
2 minutes before we go out, the coach give us a spiel. We get out there.
Yeah.
It's not a rah-rah. If you have to be rah-rah.
True.
So.
All right, so it is. If it hasn't been announced elsewhere, obviously we're busy on the show here. It's pretty obvious now that Jalen Hurts will start for the Eagles because the inactives are in.
Who's that?
So their third quarterback, Ian Book, is inactive. So that obviously tells you that Jalen Hurts is starting and Gardner Minshew is backing up. The other inactives for the Eagles are really no surprise here. Avonte Maddox is out. Trey Sermon, running back, is out. Lane Johnson, of course, is out. And Josh Sweat, the star defensive end, is also out. But I think the Eagles are hopeful that those guys will be back for the playoffs. Which,
I'm thinking they hope that we can hold the fort down with the guys who are active, and we get those guys back. Got to secure the bye week first, and that'll give us a lot of leeway.
We talked about this earlier when we were talking about Kelsey and some of these other guys. As a defensive lineman, I'm sure you appreciate really good offensive line play.
Yes. Jeff Stoutland.
Lane Johnson, probably one of the best the Eagles have ever had.
Yep, he's right up there. You got to remember I played with Trey T and John Runyon. So.
Right.
So he's up there.
And what about a Jason Peters, because he was obviously in his prime, one of the best ever as well.
He was one of the best. I didn't play with Jason. Jason was here after that came about, but he was like one of the better offensive linemen too. So it should be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I think the Eagles' record with Lane Johnson injured is well under 500.
Yeah, more
that's
likely,
not by accident.
Yeah, especially a guy who's not really giving up sacks.
You're right.
And putting people on notice, and it was a gut punch of an injury that we got. I was like, but I think. Just Stoutland has the guys ready for the next man up mentality. Especially, I like Jake Driscoll. Jack. Jack is I end up meeting everybody every year because they have the. Remember you was asking about how they treat us. We have an alumni rookie luncheon, or we had a barbecue this year every year after the draft around May, so we can meet all the rookies and stuff and get them acclimated to everybody.
Back when you played, Andy Reid always had this philosophy, and it looks like the organization now under Howie Roseman, and he's probably more the driver of the bus on this than Sirianni would be, but, everybody's in the fantasy football, and what the quarterback will do, the running back, the wide receiver, the kicker, because they score. But, football still to this day is won in the trenches.
Yes,
and when you have good offensive line, good defensive line, it was an organizational philosophy when you played with the Eagles, and that's why you were good.
Yeah, it's like when you that was our breakdown too. After the warm up, our breakdown was line because that's where it starts at. It starts up front. It don't matter. It's no matter how many skill position players you got. If the quarterback can't throw the ball and you can't run the ball, it's no good.
Yeah.
The defensively, if you're not good up front, they will run the ball down your throat. They don't have to pass. So you do have to build it up front. That's where it starts.
I think today when we talk about good defensive line play, for the most part, a lot of the regular season, it's, how can the defensive line get to the quarterback? And I know you're saying that you get in this playoff time, the weather gets colder, the weather gets nastier, but that defensive line better stop the run too.
Yeah, because nobody's going to pass on you. They know we got some good defensive ends. But why would you throw the ball and put your quarterback in harm's way if you could get 3-4 yards a whop? Mm-hmm. On first down, if they get 3 yards or more, they won.
Yeah.
It's like if it's not 2nd and 7+, then you lost it down as a defense. I see too many people jumping up and celebrating on routine plays instead of just acting like you've been there before.
This is Reality Check, the Ultimate Sports Preview. We're live at the Mudhen in Wildwood. We're here till 4 o'clock, so we've got a few minutes left. Hollis Thomas will be hanging out a little bit to watch some of the Eagles game that starts at 4:25. We've certainly had some fun here. Make sure if you're just coming in now, the crowd has actually picked up a little bit here as we get closer to game time. Stop by the table. We've got some T-shirts to give away. Hollis has some autographs. You can take a picture and whatnot. When we get done here, which will be in a few minutes. Okay, so today's Eagles-Giants game.
Yes.
What are your thoughts and a prediction, so to speak?
My thoughts are, I'm thinking that that our offensive coordinator should run the ball. It's like, yes, we're getting our field general back, but run the ball. We shouldn't be out there just pass happy, run the ball, shorten the game a little bit, give the defense a chance to rest, and the defense needs to play more man defense or do some more stunts up front, which is what I was going to show you on the paper. I was going to show you how you cut up the run so you don't have, because a lot of times when you see an offense, when you see a quarterback come to the line, if he's got 2 high safeties, they're running the ball because you have a 6 or 7 man front, and they win that every time. But if you like when you drop the safety down, then you're vulnerable to the pass. But if you're going to have 2 high safeties, you do what they call cut up the run. You run stunts up front to negate certain gaps. It's like we did it a little bit versus Pittsburgh and some other teams, but then he just got away from it. It's like, but if you're going to have the 2 high safeties and you're going to be playing coverage like he's trying to play, you need to cut up the run, or they'll. It's like we give up a lot of rushing yards, but it's miscellaneous rushing yards, and it keeps the other team on the field and it keeps our offense off the field. That's what they do. The high-powered offenses, they keep them on the sideline by running the ball at us. Yeah. And it's like they may not get nothing, but you just wasted all that time for them to drive down to get a field goal, and then our guys go out there. And sometimes they'll get 3 and out. And sometimes when we get our general, he goes and gives us a nice scoring drive to give the defense an opportunity to rest. But it also puts the opposing team on notice that, you got to score. You got to score 7 instead of 3. So
this is how popular Hollis is. He's been trying to show me a little defensive scheme. He's been trying to draw it up for an hour. And he hasn't been able to show me because every time we go to break, he gets bombarded by the fans here, which is great. To see. Come say hello to Hollis. He can show me that at another time. So, but yeah, stop by the Mudhen again. He'll be here for a while watching the Eagles. We got just a few minutes left here. I'll tell you about some of these other games again. Here.
I was going to see. We just played them, and we just played the Giants. 4 weeks ago, about a month ago.
Yeah.
And back then they still got the same pigeons, but they're not playing some of the pigeons.
Yes.
What I do, I pick out the pigeons.
They play baby pigeons now.
Well, no, but it was like a pigeon is somebody who you want to go against.
Yes.
So currently, both of their offensive tackles who should be playing are pigeons, and their right guard. What's the right guard's name? It's around here somewhere. The right guard is a pigeon. His name is Mark Glowinski. He's a pigeon. Yeah. And their center, John Feliciano. He's a bit of a pigeon. He's actually he has an injury, so he's a bit of a pigeon right now too. Yeah. That means it's an easy win.
Should be you.
So we should.
Well, it comes down to
our defensive line throttling them.
Well, I mean, I think what's happened in the second half of the season, maybe not so much last week against New Orleans, but. Although the one big play with the pick 6, but the one thing the Eagles have not done the last 6 or 7 weeks, even though they've won some of those games, is they're not winning that turnover battle, and that's the one way you keep a lesser talented team in a game is if you turn it over.
You know how you win the turnover battle? Run man defense. Quit running his own defense all the time. Mix it up. Put the opposing offense on notice that you're not going to know what we're in. Disguise some coverages sometimes. They should not know exactly what we're in at all times.
Right, absolutely. All right, so the 1 o'clock games, as they move closer to the finish here, they move midway to deep in the fourth quarter. Atlanta leads Tampa 30-17. Atlanta's actually scored 20 unanswered points in the second half. Buffalo has a 35-23 lead over New England. The Patriots are deep in Buffalo territory, though, on a 3rd and 1. The Vikings lead Chicago 29-13. Cincinnati's up 27-16 on the Ravens. The Ravens have the ball deep in their own territory. The Colts are up 31-24 on the Texans. Jets and Dolphins still tied at 6. No one apparently wants to win that game. And the Steelers have now that got off to a slow start, but it's 28-14 now. They lead the Browns, so that's what's going on in the NFL. So you have Dallas today is at Washington. So the other way that the Eagles could win the division, obviously, is if Dallas loses. But I certainly don't want to leave it up to that. The Eagles can go take care of business on their own. We got to take care of our own business.
And I think that's why they put both games at 4.
No doubt.
4:25.
No doubt.
Because that way you're not scoreboard watching. Just take care of your own business and everything would be okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I think if Dallas was at 1 and they were losing, Hurts probably wouldn't play today. Well, I don't know. They still have to beat out San Francisco,
Right.
too. A loss today could give San Francisco the #1 overall seed as well.
Right.
So, it's if you're an Eagles fan, it's a fun time. You have a game here on the last week of the year. There's so many teams in the NFL playing for nothing today.
Yep.
And the Eagles have really a lot on the line. And
Playing for draft position.
Playing for draft position, yeah. The Eagles have a ton on the line today that would, certainly impact their immediate future in terms of how the playoffs set up for them. They can get a week off with a win today over the Giants. So.
They're actually showing that Jets and Dolphins game 6-6.
6-6, yeah. On team, again, but at least the weather's good down there.
Yeah, that's the only thing that you have
Otherwise,
to
how
afford.
could you stay? How could you stay and watch that? So I'll tell you what, it's been a fun 3 hours. It has gone by fast.
I've had a great time with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been pretty awesome.
Yeah. So we'll see if we can't do this again sometime.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm down.
So we thank
Jim's down.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said I know Jim's down.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. We thank the great people here at the Mudhen. They've given us good service. They set us up great here today, and they do a great job here. It's really one of the great places in Cape May County to enjoy a meal, a night out.
And a hero boy.
A hero boy.
With a whisper of sentiment.
Yes, and to meet your favorite ex-NFL player here, Hollis Thomas, 14-year veteran. It's been a privilege to be here. And so for Norm back at the studio, for doing a great job for us, for Jimmy Mascio, who, I'm not used to this, Jim. Kind of like our operation, I got to set everything up. I got here, all I had to do was put a headset on. Jim had everything set up for us. That's what happens when a big guy like you comes. Hollis comes, we get the royal treatment.
I'm not technically inclined, so.
All right, so for Jimmy, for Hollis Thomas, hey, Hollis, it's been great. I've had a lot of fun.
Appreciate you, B.
I'm Brian Cunniff. Thanks for joining us. This has been Reality Check, the ultimate sports preview show. Go Birds.
Go Birds.